across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
There you are. Good afternoon and welcome to Drive Time right here on Talk. I'm Kevin O'Sullivan and I'll be with you for the next 3 thrilling hours of news, views and topical debate all the way to 7 o'clock. Get on the show, get it off your chest, get on the phone and call me on 0344 499 1000, or you can WhatsApp voice note me on the same number, and I promise to play your message out. It is Friday, May the 22nd. The hot weekend starts now. Here's what's coming up. The descent into ignominious hell keeps on getting worse for the former Prince Andrew after police revealed they have launched what they call a significant investigation into his alleged sex offences. He stands accused of shipping in one of his pedo pal Jeffrey Epstein's trafficked girls to disgustingly abuse her at his former Royal Lodge home. And Thames Valley cops are appealing for more potential victims to come forward. If the King's brother is charged and found guilty, he will almost certainly go to jail. This pompous, entitled oath has brought a level of shame upon the royal family that threatens its very existence. After this latest sensational development, I'll talk to author Andrew Lowney, who first exposed the ex-Duke of York's shocking secrets in his bombshell book entitled Your Thoughts. 0344 499 1000. In other news, after finally complying with the Supreme Court's biological sex ruling and banning blokes from ladies' loos, Equality Secretary Bridget Phillipson effectively tells women they mustn't challenge men in dresses who invade their safe spaces. Does this mean that in reality Bridget does not want females to tell trans women to get the hell out of their loos? What's that all about? 0344 499 1000. If you are a biological woman and you see a bloke in a beard in a dress, with a beard in a dress in your loos, you tell them to get the hell out. What do you think about that? Particularly want to hear from women about this. 0344 499 1000. Also, on today's action-packed show, 3 teenage rapists walk free from court after a judge praised them for the way they handled their trial and sympathised with them for not really knowing the meaning of consent. I mean, what? Meanwhile, these vile little monsters' victims will never recover from the horrific 90-minute ordeal they were subjected to. What on earth was this judge thinking? 0344 499 1000. Plus, another migrant dodges deportation by convincing an immigration judge that if he gets sent back to his home country, he'll be killed. That old one. This guy says his dad was a captain in former Iraqi dictator Saddam Hussein's army. Naturally, he was allowed to stay and granted the privilege of anonymity. Why? 0344 499 1000. Plus, London Mayor Sadiq Khan keeps the capital's crime rate up by blocking the Met Police's bid to acquire a £50 million AI system. And finally, a sunny bank holiday weekend. Wonders never cease. Inevitably, the BBC's doommongers warn us that this great weather is a killer. Climate change emergency, innit? 0344 499 1000. It's a lovely weekend. Just enjoy it. Don't listen to the bead. All that and so much more. So don't go anywhere. Stick with me right here, right now on Talk, the home of free speech and common sense. Let's spend Friday afternoon together. And let's go straight over to my next guest. My first guest, in fact. Very pleased to welcome back to the show Reform UK's excellent Runcorn and Helsby MP, who I believe is on the campaign trail right now in Makerfield. Welcome to Sarah Pochin. Hi, Sarah.
Good afternoon. How are you doing? And yes, indeed, I am in Makerfield on the campaign trail.
Is the weather as hot and as good up there as it is down in London?
It is absolutely glorious up here, and it reminds me a little bit of when, of course, I was running in the by-election in Runcorn and Helsby. Absolutely glorious weather up here in the northwest.
Well, look, we'll get to your candidate and Andy Burnham. Andy Burnham's been out on the trail today giving interviews about how he must change the Labour Party that he's been such a central part of for his entire life. So he wants to change the Labour Party that he's helped shape. Thanks, Andy. But first, I want to get your take on the fact that the Green candidate there, or I should now say the former Green candidate, a guy called Kennedy, has just quit in another anti-Semitism row for the Green Party because it emerges that he, after the ambulance firebombing in Golders Green just down the road here, of the Jewish ambulances, he said that was a false flag. They made it all up. They did it themselves to curry sympathy. So he's had to quit. This Green Party, your thoughts?
Well, it's quite clear that the Green Party have a huge problem with anti-Semitism at the moment, and it's something that they talk about not existing in the party. It's something that they, the Labour Party talk about stamping out, but clearly this is so still prevalent in our society, and it's an absolute disgrace.
Yeah, so he's gone. His name's Chris Kennedy. They're going to replace him, they say, but I think the left-wing vote will all go to Andy Burnham, of course. Burnham has been out and about today, and he's claiming he's a solid working-class northern guy, not part of the Westminster set. But I've always said about Andy Burnham, you scrape away that kind of down-to-earth northern bloke act, and what you've got is a classic Westminster Labour clone. Believes in all the claptrap, open borders, women in blokes' lavatories, wants to rejoin the EU. I mean, he's going around saying, I don't want to rejoin the EU. I respect the vote. Well, if that is the case, Andy, why did you say on camera 2 months ago specifically that you want to rejoin the EU? He's a political shapeshifter, this guy, isn't he?
Well, look, the current Prime Minister that we have has U-turned, what do we think now, 24 times, I think it is. And I think what you're looking at with Andy Burnham is a Prime Minister in waiting, or so he thinks he is anyway. And even before being elected to this seat, he's U-turned twice already on significant issues. The first, of course, being his stance on Brexit. He made it very clear only a year ago in a video that he wanted to make it his, he wanted to see us rejoin the European Union before the end of his lifetime. And now he has, surprise, surprise, come to stand in a constituency where 63% of the vote voted to leave. And of course, he's now U-turned on that. Also, and very worrying, Kevin, I speak all the time about safety of women and girls. I've been absolutely disgusted with the government not implementing the Supreme Court ruling of a year ago, despite the European Convention of Human Rights advice and guidance on how to implement it being available for some time. Now what's happened? Andy Burnham only a few days ago said quite clearly that he was happy for biological men to use female toilets. Now he's U-turned because of the paying lip service, and I'll come back to that on the Supreme Court ruling, and saying that they will enact it as it is. But of course, so there we go, 2 years, 2 U-turns from Andy Burnham already.
Well, of course, what he's trying to do is persuade the good people of Makerfield that he's just like them. In actual fact, he stands for everything they detest. It will be Robert Kenyon and Reform UK's and good people like yourself, Sarah's job to point the truth out to the people of Makerfield, and I don't think they're going to take kindly to the fact that Andy Burnham is just treating them as like a chess piece in his game, a pawn in his chess game to get to Westminster. They're being taken for granted. I don't think they'll like that. But in the interests of balance, Sarah, I'm a very fair and balanced journalist. This is Andy Burnham launching his campaign officially in Makerfield today.
I did say it's a vote to change local Labour too. You know, you can't look at the council election results, Labour losing 24 out of 25 seats, and not recognise that as a call for real change, both in local politics and in national politics. I think it was a statement saying both of those things, to be honest. So I could have stood there today and done the usual by-election thing. Oh, the Tories this, the Lib Dems that, Reform the other. But I didn't do that because it's on us first and foremost. We need to be better. We need to be better. I've asked people in this by-election to knock on every door, to listen to people, to reconnect with people, because we need to do that. We need to change Labour back to the party people here once knew, a party solidly on the side of working class people in communities.
Now, you can comment on that if you like, Sarah, but what I'd be more interested to hear from you is your thoughts on the fact that Keir Starmer says he's going to go up there and help Andy campaign. Do you know what? If Andy Burnham had any guts as a politician, he'd come right out now and say, I don't want you up here, because when Starmer gets there, that is going to be the best boost that Robert Kenyon and Reform UK could possibly hope for, isn't it?
Well, absolutely. We make no secret of the fact that Starmer is our best asset at the moment, let's put it that way. But yeah, you know what, it's quite clear that it's all political machinations, isn't it? You know, and who's stabbing who in the back. And, you know, look, whatever happens with this by-election, we've got a hugely strong candidate, a local guy born here, understands what actually people care about on a day-to-day basis. It's a very similar seat to the seat I fought in Runcorn and Helsby. And you have to understand what people really do care about in their day-to-day lives. And similarly on the doorsteps, the issues that are going to come up and are coming up already, whether you like it or not, are immigration. People talk about it all the time because they feel that they are being unfairly disadvantaged and to illegal immigrants in the country. And that is what hits people in the pocket. People are really struggling in some of these very, very working class areas, deprived areas, and they feel that they are being treated unfairly by this Labour government and betrayed by this Labour government.
And what are you're up there campaigning, you're talking to local people. What's your sense of their feeling? Because at the local elections a couple of weeks ago, I think the relevant local council seats of the 25, 23 went to Reform UK. The people of Makerfield are staunch Brexiteers. I would suggest their political worldview is a damn sight closer to Reform UK than it is to Andy Burnham's left-wing Labour claptrap. What are you sensing? What are you discovering from the people of that great constituency?
Well, look, you know what? I think this by-election is almost going to be a repeat of the referendum in a way. You know, the fact is that Labour have made it very clear that they will not honour the views of the constituents of Makerfield when they voted to leave the European Union. In fact, that they will, you know, they will completely disregard those views. This by-election, it wouldn't surprise me at all if it's another opportunity for people to have their voices heard and to say, no, you know, enough is enough. You have betrayed us on so many different fronts, whether it's the jobs, jobs availability, you know, whether it is the safety of women and girls, whether it's jury trials, it doesn't matter what it is. But this Labour government is not standing up for hardworking, tax-paying people who care about their family, care about the safety of their children on the streets. You know, up here in the Northwest, HMOs is a big problem. Whether you like to talk about it or not, it's a fact. This Labour government is doing nothing to put the British people and the safety of the British people first. And of course, the final thing is energy. You know, people are struggling so much with the price of household bills now. We could solve that problem. And when Reform get into government, as you know, we will start drilling for oil and gas and put back the energy security that this country could so easily have if this government had the will to do it.
Yeah, it seems that Labour don't quite realise that imposing on an unsuspecting, long-suffering nation the highest energy bills in the world is not wildly popular. So I think that Robert Kenyon can make good use of that while he campaigns. Before you go, Sarah, I wanted to get you, slightly away from Makerfield. You referred to it, you alluded to it earlier. I think this is extraordinary. So the Equality Secretary, Bridget Phillipson, finally clearly kicking and screaming, dragged kicking and screaming, she finally performs her legal obligation by announcing that it will now be illegal for biological males to go into and use ladies' loos or invade women's safe spaces. The reason she's had to do this is because it's a ruling from the Supreme Court. She took an inordinate amount of time to actually perform her legal duty and bring that into play, and then immediately announces, yeah, but if, okay, they're banned, but if a man, a biological male does go into a women's loo, you can't challenge them. We can't challenge them. Well, so what she's saying is if some bozo with a beard wearing a dress goes into a ladies' loo, you, for example, Sarah, will not be able to go over to him and say, excuse me, this is the ladies, can you get out? This is ridiculous.
Well, look, it's another example of the Labour politicians like Bridget Phillipson, being so frightened of the very powerful trans lobbyists that we currently have in this country. They're putting the trans lobbyists ahead of the safety of women and girls. And yes, you're right, this is paying lip service to the Supreme Court ruling. The highest court in the land made a very clear ruling a year ago that biological sex was, a man is a man, a woman is a woman. And that, look, this whole paying lip service to implementing this ruling is really betraying, again, the people like the Darlington nurses who were at the forefront of this whole issue and were so brave and had to put up with men coming into their changing rooms, posing as women, and could do nothing about it and felt sexually intimidated. All this government has done is said, well, yes, we will support now the European Convention of Human Rights guidance on how to implement the Supreme Court ruling, but you cannot challenge anyone, as you say. So, in fact, absolutely nothing has changed. So you're right. Although, Kevin, as you can imagine, I'd love to see a trans woman try and tell me they can use the same changing room or toilet as me. Yeah, well, I'd love to see what would happen.
I'm calling on you, Sarah, and all your fellow biological females. Whatever Bridget Phillipson says, it will not be against the law to challenge a bloke in a dress in the ladies' loos. And I'm calling on you and all your fellow females to do just that. To hell with Bridget Phillipson and this ridiculous mixed message that she's been sending. Sarah, it's been great to have you on the show as always. Enjoy the sunshine and good luck in Makerfield. Talk to you soon. That's Sarah Pochin, Reform UK MP for Runcorn and Helsby. Now, you want to stay tuned because after the break, the brilliant royal author Andrew Lowney will join me to discuss the latest sensational development in the Andrew Mountbatten saga. That next, stay tuned.
What Labour... Chris O'Dowd! When you get the offer to be the voice of a sheep...
Yes, you can only dream, really.
Kelly Riley and Cole Hauser! How much of Rip does your husband in real life have about him?
I mean, yeah. I mean, he's a man.
Say
He's a dude.
Kirsty and Phil!
Can we talk about one other thing?
We can talk about loads of things. It's an interview.
Wake up, it's a beautiful morning.
I've got some breaking news here. The Crowborough Army Training Camp could hold male asylum seekers all the way until 2030.
Goodness.
After the Home Office claimed it would only be for 12 months. Not much ambition involved in that, is there, in terms of solving the migrant crisis?
Absolutely, and the way that the Labour government gaslit the public when the migrants were first moved in there, saying, you know, you guys are absolutely being mad.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Let's go straight over to my next guest. Very pleased to welcome to the show the brilliant royal author of Entitled, The Decline and Fall of the House of York, bombshell book that set the ball rolling downwards for the former Prince Andrew and Fergie, of course. Andrew Lowney. Welcome, Andrew.
Very nice to be back with you.
Good to have you on the show, as always. Now, what a day. Now, of course, Prince Andrew was arrested a couple of months ago on his 66th birthday for alleged offences, misconduct in public office from when he was trade envoy. The police now, today, Thames Valley Police, making it very clear that that investigation has widened into another probe into alleged sex offences by the former prince. They are making it very clear they're calling this a significant investigation. They've already talked to the Crown Prosecution Service about it. They have one particular alleged victim that they want to talk to, an American who says she was trafficked into London to be abused by the then Prince at his home at Royal Lodge back in 2010. Police saying there are more, they believe there are more victims, asking for them to come forward. To sum this up, this is a significant, dreadful development for Andrew, isn't it?
Yes, it is. I never expected this. I thought this was going to be kicked into touch. I mean, this is a woman who has got a lawyer, Brad Edwards, who represented many of the victims. She hasn't, I think, lodged a formal complaint, but clearly in the course of their research, they've come across various women. I mean, I think this announcement is also to see if they can flush out other women to come forward. I think this is really interesting. I think it's been helped by Gordon Brown's intervention a few weeks ago. I think he had done a lot of extra research and shown women who were being trafficked in, I think, in about 6 or 7 different airports, and may well have been trafficked to Prince Andrew. I do think this is really interesting that they are being so open about it and so direct. So I think we have to stay tuned. I think he might be sweating this weekend.
Well, no, he can't be doing that. You know, of course, he's incapable of sweating. But, you know, we mustn't prejudge. This is an ongoing investigation, and we don't know if he'll be charged, and we certainly should not prejudge whether or not he'll be found guilty. But if this does lead to a charge and then a trial, and he's found guilty, the King's brother, for this kind of offence, will almost certainly go to jail. I mean, this is extraordinary, isn't it?
Yes, I mean, we've been there slightly before. I think a sort of cousin of the royal family who was sort of being a bit handsy with the woman went to jail, Bose Lyon. But this is quite a significant development. I mean, the other one that I think people are keeping quite quiet about is Surrey police are investigating stories which emerged in the Epstein files in December of a girl then aged 6 in the 1990s, now in her 30s, who claims that she was abused at Frogmore Cottage, tortured by Ghislaine Maxwell, watched by Andrew. Now, if this is true, and the Surrey police appear to have been contacting the American authorities for more information, then that's another line of inquiry. So it does seem to me that the net is closing in on him.
So that announcement, it was a couple of days ago, wasn't it? The Surrey police are looking into another Epstein case. That was that case. I didn't realise that. So Andrew could be involved in that as well.
Yes, there's several. I mean, there are two cases that Surrey are looking at. One in Berkshire in the 1990s, one I think in Surrey going back to the 1980s. And we've got several other police forces. I mean, no one has actually talked about what's going on in Scotland. And I'm told that a lot of girls were taken up to Balmoral. And that really hasn't been pursued as a subject. So I think the things are taking, as you say, a snowballing and are not looking very attractive for him. He thought he would get off on malfeasance because he wasn't a public official, he wasn't paid. But I think these charges, and I think also he could be charged with breaches of the Official Secrets Act. I mean, giving away information to a foreign power as he did, constitutes a breach of OSI.
I mean, this Andrew is a new low for the royal family. I mean, it's been bad enough thanks to Andrew and Fergie for the last few years, but especially after your excellent book revealed the extent of their nefarious lives. But I mean, it's not an exaggeration to say that if Andrew goes down for this will pose an existential problem for the British royal family. I mean, the people, are very sympathetic to the royals. They love the royal family, but they'll only take so much. They're not going to put up with this. And what worries me about this case in terms of the entire royal family and Andrew's sort of privileged existence, let's give him this job as a trade envoy so he can go around the world abusing it, lining his own pockets. That was all down to the Queen. We all love the Queen, magnificent, remarkable woman, but boy, oh boy, was this oaf, this fool, this pompous, awful man, her second son, that was her Achilles heel. He was her Achilles heel. She was wrong and weak about him, wasn't she?
Absolutely. And I mean, I think her reputation is going to have to be reassessed. I mean, she was human. She was a mother. We had the same thing with Margaret Thatcher and Mock Thatcher. But I think the big question that's being asked is, was Andrew protected? I mean, these stories have been running around for 15 years. There have been significant moments of scandal, as Sarah Ferguson selling access to Andrew as a trade envoy in 2010. The High Court trial in 2022, where £1.3 million was found in the Yorks' bank's accounts, which they couldn't account for. My book, nothing ever happened. And I think the suspicion is growing that the royal family have known about this, have covered it up, and have protected him. And if that's the case, then I'm afraid, despite the wagons being circling, that people are beginning to ask questions about the king. And of course, bigger questions have been asked about the daughters, that they've always been presented as innocents in this. It's now with investigations into Eugenie's charity and the distancing of some members of the royal family publicly from them suggests that there perhaps may be some skeletons in their closet.
Let me ask you about this. The king is now completely funding Andrew, his brother. I mean, the king doesn't even like his brother. They've never liked each other. But the king is paying for his entire existence. And I saw some shots of his alleged reduced circumstances, his little home now. I mean, it's pretty magnificent where he's living. It's a fantastic looking place on the Sandringham estate. And the king's paying for him. And we understand the king is also paying for security for him. Shouldn't the king think about pulling the rug from under this guy's feet? Because this is a bad look.
Well, I think he feels a duty of care to his brother. I'm sure he gave assurances to their mother. I mean, I think the mystery for me is that, certainly the people I've talked to say that Andrew has made money. He's got money. He could actually pay for himself. And that was also the case with Sarah Ferguson. I mean, no one has really explained what's happened to the £4 million from selling the house in Belgravia recently. So I wonder if it's just an element of control. But I mean, the great thing about Andrew is he doesn't like to put his hand in his pocket. And if someone else is paying, then he's happy. But I agree, it's not a good look. But I mean, it is Charles's own money. It's not taxpayers' money. And if this is the only way to kind of control Andrew, then I think that's probably, his only option.
Are you hearing anything, Andrew, about Andrew Mountbatten's state of mind? I mean, is he suffering any mental health issues over this sort of barrage of accusations and police investigations? I mean, he must be feeling somewhat beleaguered.
Well, you would think so. I mean, the latest I've got is an interview that was done, I suppose, about 6 weeks ago with a member of his staff. So it's just in time for the paperback of Entitled, and that suggested he was quite cocky. He was quite confident that he would not be charged. He was fussing about minor details. He was kind of a displacement, really, to the predicament he was in. Now that situation may have changed in the last few days. But it must be difficult because it's a sort of waiting game at the moment. No one knows if charges will be brought, when they will be brought. And my assumption was this was going to be kicked into the next reign. So that's why the announcement today is really interesting. And Thames Valley is an interesting police force because it's not really tied in the way the Met is to Royal Protection, and it can operate slightly more independently. And we've now got several police forces looking, and I suspect we may get from these investigations other police forces perhaps saying some similar things in the next few weeks. It's
extraordinary. It's absolutely extraordinary. Now you're as you just said, the new updated version, the paperback version of Entitled: The Decline and Fall of the House of York is on sale and available at all the usual places.
Yes, I hope so. It's literally just out yesterday, but it seems to be a lot of interest. So I've managed to add about 40 pages. So I could have added a lot more. It's an extraordinary running story.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, and I've been meaning to do. I'm going to take you out for lunch because I want to get all the stuff that you didn't manage to get into the book that the lawyers banned. I bet that's something to know.
That's the deal. That's the deal.
Okay, Andrew, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's great to talk to you. Thank you. Andrew Lowney there, the author of Entitled. He knows a hell of a lot more than is in the book, and the stuff that's in the book. Well, it's two. In a way, it's two books. So the first book was the hardback. The new paperback is out now, and the stuff that's in the book is absolutely sensational. So there's even more that isn't in the book. I'm going to find out. Let me know, though, seriously. It's not a laughing matter. This is a very serious situation. What are your thoughts about Prince Andrew, or the former Prince Andrew? He's in big trouble now. Big trouble. This is a very serious situation that could lead to the King's brother being sent to prison. That will present an existential problem for the royal family. It really, really will. 0344 499 1000. Next up, we're going to talk about Angela Rayner and election fraud. She is insisting it's nothing to do with her, denying it, but there is an election fraud scandal unfolding almost on her, literally in her home territory, or as some people say, literally in her home. We'll tell you all about that in just a little while. Stay where you are.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Now, Angela Rayner, the former Deputy Prime Minister, is embroiled in an astonishing election fraud row. 4 men and a woman have been arrested for allegedly putting up fake candidates to split the vote in Labour's favour in the Tameside area of Greater Manchester, which is Angela Rayner territory. Let's talk to political commentator Chloe Dobbs. Hi, Chloe.
Hi, Kevin. How's it going?
OK, maybe not so well for Angela Rayner. Must stress she denies any involvement in this, denies any knowledge of it. But the allegation is that behind the scenes, Labour apparatchiks were busy putting up fake candidates, just plucking names from the ether, getting people to agree to have their names used and putting them up in local elections in order to split the vote in Labour's favour. A guy called Philip Wilson-Marks, who is the former vice chairman of the Ashton-under-Lyne Community Labour Party. Now, Ashton-under-Lyne is Angela Rayner's constituency. Philip Wilson-Marks says that he was twice approached to propose the fake independent tactic by a senior local councillor, and guess where one of those approaches happened? According to Mr. Wilson-Marks, it happened in 2025, in the summer of 2025, in the kitchen of Angela Rayner's home there, while Angela Rayner was apparently out in the garden preparing a barbecue. She was having a barbecue. Angela says she knows nothing about this. The Labour deny any wrongdoing here. But this is not a good look for Ms Rayner, is it?
Definitely not a good look at a time when she may be thinking of launching a leadership bid if and when a leadership challenge happens. I mean, she probably thought, finally, after this long purgatory, I have concluded my investigation with HMRC. I've paid them the 40 grand. I've got a clean slate now. But now there is this headache. Now, as you said, of course, she denies any involvement in this. But even if she was in the garden and knew absolutely nothing about it, it shows you the kind of people that she hangs around with. If she has got these people in her house, people who are allegedly willing to completely distort democracy and put up fake candidates just so that they can win in an unfair way, I don't think that is a good look for her or the Labour Party as a whole. After the Gorton and Denton by-election, we had the Electoral Commission say that they saw record numbers of family voting occurring. Of course, the Green Party are the ones that won that by-election. But I think it goes for both the Green Party and the Labour Party. I think a lot of people can smell a lot of fishy goings on when it comes to potentially messing around with postal votes, family voting, and in this case, the use of fake candidates. And what's quite funny is the fact that they the one seat that was won, they lost control of this council after having control of it for such a long time. Reform got 18 of the seats and they only got 1 seat. The 1 seat that they got, it looks like on the numbers, a supposedly fake candidate. If that fake candidate wasn't on the ballot paper, that Reform would have won that one as well, and it would have been a clean sweep, which would be pretty horrific for Labour.
This is the guy who won the St Peter's ward, was a Labour guy called Atta ul Rasul, and he beat the independent candidate Ahmed Mahmoud by 177 votes, allegedly because of this vote splitting using fake candidates, a plot that allegedly was hatched at Angela Rayner's home. I should read out the statement, Chloe. A Labour Party spokesman said, no evidence has been presented by... No evidence has been presented of any Labour Party involvement in these allegations. We categorically reject any suggestion that the party was involved. Well, what was that guy's name? Mr... the guy who said that he was approached in the kitchen of Angela Rayner's home might have something to say about that. He says quite the opposite. So Philip Wilson Marks. So Labour saying don't know, no involvement. No suggestion the party was involved. Well, Philip Wilson Marks says he was approached at Angela Rayner's in her kitchen, actually, while Angela was out cooking sausages or something. I mean, I don't think we've heard. Well, I mean, these people have been charged. We mustn't prejudge the case, but we certainly haven't heard the last of this, have we?
No, I mean, I'm sure, well, when it comes to any sort of leadership campaigns, inevitably the press will be out to try and find any dirt that they can on any of the candidates. I mean, Andy Burnham, we've seen all sorts of things coming out since he decided he was going to run as a candidate. You know, with Angela Rayner, I wouldn't be surprised if we have even more things come out about her if she tries to throw her hat into the ring rather than just do a deal with Andy Burnham to be in a top position in the cabinet.
Yeah. So Andy Burnham is out on the campaign trail. He's officially launching his campaign in Makerfield today. You know, and I'm sure he's going to be a very, very good candidate and all that. But what I would ask him is this: you've been saying you don't want to rejoin the EU. You want to respect the result of the 2016 referendum, the will of the people and all that. If you don't want to, if you say you don't want to rejoin the EU, why did you say that you did want to rejoin the EU 2 months ago on film, on camera? I mean, what's going on here?
Yeah, and it's not the only thing he seems to be flip-flopping on now. Of course, we've had this new guidance come out from the EHRC with regards to trans use of single-sex spaces, and he seems to keep changing his opinion on that as well. One moment he's in favour of the guidance, one moment he's not in favour of the guidance. And then when it comes to his economic policy, who knows what this guy is going to do? Because one minute he's going round to all the cameras saying, I'm going to nationalise all of the utilities, even though he said that he disagreed with Jeremy Corbyn wanting to do that some time ago, but then like a day later he says, I'm going to make sure that we stick to Rachel Reeves's fiscal rules. Well, you can't really nationalise all the utilities, which would cost apparently hundreds of billions. If you're going to stick to Rachel Reeves's fiscal rules, it means you're going to have no money to play with whatsoever. One minute he's saying, oh, we can't just live in hock to the markets. I've got a magic money tree. I can borrow whatever I want. And then suddenly he comes back to reality and realises that's not possible. So no one knows what this guy is going to do, really, if he gets into power. And the problem with Keir Starmer is, well, he's known as Flip-Flop Starmer. He's a man with no conviction. Nobody knows what he stands for. And Andy Burnham, people may have thought, oh, this guy's got a bit more personality, seems like he's got a bit more conviction, but I think he's slowly starting to show himself to be pretty similar to Starmer in this respect.
You know that joke, a Blairite, a Brownite and a Corbynista walk into a pub and the landlord says, hello, Mr. Burnham. There you go. Good to talk to you, Chloe. Take care. Have a lovely weekend. That's the brilliant political commentator, Chloe Dobbs. You can see her, by the way, on the latest edition of Plank of the Week, hosted by me. So Chloe's on that as well. We're going to go to breakdown. When we come back, we're going to revisit the extraordinary mixed messages that Equality Secretary Bridget Phillipson seems to be sending about whether or not blokes can go into ladies' loos. The answer has to be no. Leave them alone. Leave these women alone, you know. Go into the men's, the gents. You're not a woman. But Bridget is sending mixed messages. Yesterday she said, no, biological males are now banned from ladies' loos. That's by order of the Supreme Court, by the way. Now she's saying, yeah, but if there is a bloke in the ladies' loo, you can't challenge them. Well, that's not the law, Bridget, and I hope women do challenge blokes in dresses, men in dresses, in ladies' loos. We'll talk about that next with Dr. Pam Spur. Stick around.
is a quiet...
Chris O'Dowd! When you get the offer to be the voice of a sheep...
Yes, you can only dream, really.
Kelly Riley and Cole Hauser! Well, how much of Rip does your husband in real life have about him?
I mean, yeah. I mean, he's a man.
He's a dude. Kirsty and Phil!
Can we talk about one other thing?
We can talk about loads of things. It's an interview.
Wake up, it's a beautiful morning. Feel sad.
Two streets! All streets! Two streets! All streets!
I've got some breaking news here. The Crowborough Army Training Camp could hold male asylum seekers all the way until 2030.
Good.
After the Home Office claimed it would only be for 12 months. Not much ambition involved in that, is there, in terms of solving the migrant crisis?
Absolutely, and the way that the Labour government gaslit the public when the migrants were first moved in there, saying, you know, you guys are absolutely being mad.
Across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yeah, let's go back to Bridget Phillipson and men in dresses in ladies' loos, and let's talk to psychologist and social commentator Dr. Pam Spur. Welcome, Pam.
Good afternoon, Kevin.
Well, I would suggest that the Equality Secretary, Bridget Phillipson, is sending serious mixed messages. In a sense, she's giving with one hand and taking away with the other. Now, was it yesterday or the day before she finally performed her legal obligation by announcing, according to the ruling of the Supreme Court, that biological males are banned from ladies' loos and women's safe spaces. No ifs, no buts. That's what the Supreme Court decided all those months ago. Is it a year ago or something? It's taken Bridget Phillipson one hell of a long time to get to this point. You sense she was dragged kicking and screaming in having to make this announcement. She doesn't like it. And then she makes it clear she doesn't like it, because then she announces, extraordinarily, in my view. Oh, by the way, you know when I said that biological males aren't allowed into ladies' loos? Well, if you're a woman, if you're a real woman, a biological female, and you see in your ladies' loo, I don't know, a bloke in a dress with a beard, you're not allowed to go over and say, get out of our loos. Well, I would suggest, Pam, two things. She's got no right to say that for a kick-off. And it's not going to be illegal if you're in the ladies, Pam, and you see some obvious bloke in a dress. It's not against the law for you to go over to that guy and say, would you mind getting out of our lavatories, please? So you go ahead and do that. I mean, what does this Bridget Phillipson think she's playing at?
Well, it's extraordinary, really. Whereas, of course, I welcome the guidance, because so many organizations, charities, businesses, etc., have been dragging their feet to implement what was clear with the Supreme Court ruling over a year ago. There is this anomaly. So on the one hand, the guidance explicitly recognizes that women may reasonably object to a man in their spaces like changing rooms, toilets, refuges, hospital wards. It also explicitly says that if a women-only service ends up allowing trans-identifying men into it, then that service may cease to legally qualify as a single-sex service. But, as you say, this is then all qualified by this anomaly where it says the EHRC is saying it's largely inappropriate and probably, practically difficult to then go target someone who's gone into the wrong sex, say, toilet, and tell them to get out. And what the guidance says from the EHRC is that where you can do this is if there's clear evidence that a man wants to access women's spaces. And let me tell you, Kevin, I've experienced this 4 or 5 times now over the last, say, 5 years. A big geezer in a dress, in a ladies' toilet, usually like when I was at the Edinburgh Festival a couple summers ago, midnight, after I've seen a lot of comedy shows, come out of my, there's always different, like 5 loos, come out of my stall. And there's this big geezer at the, washing his hands. Yeah. Well, I'm not going to confront a 6'2" guy. I'm only 5'7".
Yeah.
So what I think women are going to have to do is report. So immediately go to, whoever runs that building or those services or whatever it is and say, there is a man in there. He can't be in there. By what the EHRC states, I can reasonably expect not to find men in single-sex toilets.
I think, well, the Supreme Court, you can demand not to have biological males in your safe spaces and your ladies' loos. You can demand it. And what Bridget Phillipson's saying in the EHRC, this is like, if you think about it, it's going to be a bit difficult, isn't it? So don't do it. Well, that isn't the law. That is not the law. I would advise yourself and all your fellow biological females to just ignore that. And if you see a bloke in your loos, either tell him to get out or go and see someone in authority to get rid of them, because that is what the Supreme Court ordered. It didn't say, biological sex always counts unless you don't want to be rude to someone. It's nonsense. It's nonsense.
It's nonsense. And so with these sort of contrasting statements that have come out, Bridget Phillipson has managed to create this gray area. And let me tell you, when she published the guidance yesterday, I'm active on X. And I started scrolling through a lot of trans-identifying men's accounts, and literally hundreds of them were saying, I'm going to still go in the women's. You're not going to stop me. Are you deluded? And things like that. All over X, formerly known as Twitter. All these men are just going to break the law, and having created this weird gray area where I would say, let's go by what the EHRC says, that if you've got the evidence, it is a man, you have the right then to ask them to leave. As I say, if you're worried because they're bigger than you are, you go to whoever manages the services and you tell them, we have to start reporting, because these trans activists are not going to back down. You just have to look at X and you'll see, and any other social media, and you'll see what they're saying about this. They don't care. They're so self-entitled. Their ethos is so me. They do not care about women and girls. They only care about flaunting themselves in toilets, all these ridiculous selfies these men do. Women don't take selfies of themselves in toilets, but all these men, look at some of these.
Not that many men do, actually. I can tell you that.
these men in frocks, often with mustaches or beards.
The men in frocks do, yeah. They get off on it, yeah.
Do what they think is a female head tilt, and they take a picture in the loose. Women don't do that. You can tell these guys a mile off. So it's going to be pretty darn easy to report them, unless you feel able yourself, like it might be a group of women, you come across a man in the women's toilets or in a women's changing room at the gym or spa. As a group, you might be able to say, hey, wait, mate, out, as we're going to report you to the management now. But as I say, it could be quite dangerous for a woman on her own to do that.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's a very good point. You shouldn't put yourself in danger. But let me ask you this. Do you share my suspicion, I'm not alone in this, that Bridget Phillipson, along with all her other woke Labour cabinet secretary friends, cronies, they've always hated this Supreme Court biological sex ruling? That's why she's dragged her heels for so long to actually come to this point where she's had to announce the official guidance, and now she's trying to water it down. She never wanted to do this. She is far more interested in trans rights, the rights of a bloke in a frock to go into a ladies' loo, than women's rights not to want that. This is what it is. This is an abuse of women's rights, isn't it? Telling them that they must accept men in their safe spaces.
I have to say, I've heard it on good authority that a couple of these women MPs who actually act like they support trans rights are actually secret TERFs. But they're terrified of the trans lobby. And someone like Bridget Phillipson, who has connections to a number of the unions, her backing, she's worried, would just disappear if she didn't head to this, give this little gray area, because she relies on their support. It's absolutely a dereliction of duty. It's a conflict of interest. And, these people need to face, MPs like Phillipson should not be beholden to the lobbies that are absolutely in the clutches of trans ideology. And politics should not be run like that.
Absolutely, and I mean, I'm all for trans rights, by the way. Everybody should be able to live their lives out how they want to without anybody spoiling things for them. I'm all for that, but not if trans rights effectively take away women's rights. So trans rights, I'm not the trans lobby compared to the women's rights lobby is tiny. What Bridget Phillipson and her gang are worried about is that the trans lobby, and by the way, not all trans people are activists, but a very noisy few are, and they make so much noise that daunts and worries the likes of Bridget Phillipson that these trans people will make me look bad, and therefore she goes along with what they want, as opposed to the vast majority, as in biological women, who don't want blokes in their loos.
Well, 2 points, though, on what you've just said, Kevin. First off, I believe there's no such thing as trans. We are all people, and we're either men or women, and we all have, there are 8 billion personalities in this world.
Yeah, there's two sexes out there, aren't there? There's genders.
No such thing as
male
a
and female.
Exactly. And the other thing is, I think you're wrong there. The trans lobby has enormous power.
Yeah.
It is embedded in our institutions, been pushed along by the likes of Stonewall, the once great Stonewall, which did so much for LGBT rights, but got captured in 2000.
Well, listen, Pam, I've got to go because it's the news. Thank you so much. Good to talk to you, Pam Spur. Nicole Lambert next. Stay tuned.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
about 20 minutes, I'm going to talk to former Met Police detective Mike Neville and ask him why he thinks a judge let 3 rapists go free, walk free from court, and praised them. I don't know what that's about. He praised them for being very well behaved during their trial and said, oh, well, you didn't really understand the meaning of consent. What about the victims? What about the victims? These 2 teenage girls, schoolgirls, their lives are ruined, and the judge is sympathising with the little monsters, the vile creeps who raped them. Unbelievable. We'll talk about that in a little while. But first up, let's go through some of the big stories of the day with journalist Nicole Lampert. Hi, Nicole.
Hi, Kevin, on this lovely sunny day.
Yeah, lovely, fantastic. Listen, let me ask you about this. I've got a text here from one of my fabulous audience. This is about Bridget Phillipson and the business of whether or not men in dresses can go into ladies' loos. This is Suze. Suze says, Phillipson's caveat on the trans guidance just handed the creepy men who have been bullying their way into women-only spaces and has given them permission to carry on breaking the law. What is wrong with this woman? Reality has left her lefty brain. Now, this refers to the fact that yesterday, day before, the Equality Secretary, Bridget Phillipson, kicking and screaming. She clearly didn't want to do this. She's taken a long time to get to this point after last year, it's at least about a year ago, isn't it now, the Supreme Court ruling on biological sex, which called upon the government to announce that biological men, are banned from women's safe spaces. She's taken all this time to get to the point where say, well, yeah, actually, blokes can't go into ladies' loos. You can't. That's now against the law. Then she adds this caveat, but you know, you can't really challenge. If you see someone you think is a man in the ladies, you shouldn't really challenge them. You know, it's all a bit too difficult. So men are not allowed into your ladies' loos, Nicole. That's against the law. But if you see a bloke with a beard in a dress, you can't go up to him and tell him to leave. What the hell is that all about? Talk about mixed messages.
Well, yeah, as you say, it's been more than a year since the Supreme Court judgment, and she really didn't want to have to make this. And I think we can see a little bit of that with the political journey that Andy Burnham's on. And for me, this idea that any man who says he's a woman therefore is allowed into female toilets and changing room is a sign of like who can we trust and who we can't. Like if they were willing to go along with this cultish thinking, then should we ever trust them to be the leader of our country? And the fact that Bridget Phillipson even now still is struggling with this, and of course it's difficult. And there is the worry that you're going to have kind of butch females perhaps being asked to leave.
Yeah, you wouldn't get it wrong, would you?
You don't want to get it wrong, as you say. Like,
sorry.
If there's a bloke
I once asked a female friend of mine who I hadn't seen for a few months, when's the big day then?
Yeah.
And she wasn't pregnant. Yeah. She wasn't pregnant. Yeah.
So I think we've probably all been there.
Yeah.
So you have to be careful. I think it's fine to say be kind. But if you are giving the example that you did of someone with a beard and whatever using female toilets, up until now it's been poo-pooed, you mustn't ask. Whereas now I think whatever she says, I think females will be more encouraged to push that and to say, you do not belong here. You and I both live in North London, so it's going to be very interesting to see what happens at the Hampstead Ponds, because even just a few weeks ago, for the women's only ponds, they said it was open to all women, including trans women. So whether now that the government has finally pushed this, they will change that's going to be an interesting one to watch, because really they haven't wanted to, and there's been huge rows just in this small area.
If you lived in Makerfield, where the by-election is going to happen, and Andy Burnham's standing, given that Andy Burnham does believe that blokes in skirts should be allowed into ladies' loos and women's safe spaces, would that would that lose your support? Would you vote for a man who believed in that?
Well, I mean, I look at the other candidates. You've got, two racists going up against him. So, or two people that have at least been accused of racism, I should say. The Green candidate has obviously had to step down now, citing personal reasons, but because he was retweeting a kind of neo-Nazi and called.
There's a Chris Kennedy, the Green candidate, who said that Jews set fire to their own ambulances in Golders Green as a false flag to garner sympathy. He's apologised for that and had to drop out as the Green candidate up there in Makerfield. I mean, the Green Party's got problems in this anti-Semitic area, hasn't it?
It's rife with them, absolutely rife from top to bottom, and apparently unwilling to actually do anything about it. And I think that's partly because it knows that a lot of its electoral success is riding on anti-Semitism or anti-Zionism, whatever you want to call it. But basically, they're riding on this hatred of Jews. The false flag conspiracy shows it's not just about Israel, it's now just about Jews. And Jews can never be the victim, which is why even when Jews are being attacked and ambulance and satellite, somehow this has got to be down to the fault of the Jews doing it to themselves.
Absolutely. What do you reckon about Makerfield? I mean, Burnham is up against it, isn't he? Because Peter Kenyon, is the Reform UK candidate. He's a local plumber. He's a local man. He lives in Makerfield. Burnham doesn't, and he's not from that area, whatever he says. But Andy Burnham, this is a constituency which is solid Brexit. You know, these people are staunch Brexiteers. At the local elections a couple of weeks ago, there's a potential 25 council seats in the Makerfield district, and 23 of them went to Reform UK. They don't like Andy's idea about he wants to rejoin Europe. They don't like his views on blokes in female loos. They don't like his views on loosening up on the migrant crisis, open borders. He has got all those Labour beliefs that most of the people from Makerfield evidently detest. He's got problems, hasn't he?
It's really hard to say because obviously he'll be taking the place from a Labour MP who won with a majority of around 6,000, and so a lot of
a crook.
Yes.
Josh Simons, dodgy, yeah.
So there is a thing with, local elections. How much would that differ if it was your actual
there
MP?
is a difference. You're right. Local elections and national elections tend to take not necessarily take the same course. So interesting times up there. Listen, let me ask you about Sadiq Khan. You're a Londoner. This is an interesting story. The Met Police were about to buy a AI system from the American tech company Palantir, and this AI system was a criminal catching system that the Met Police said would have really helped them, in their battle to crack down on crime in the capital. Sadiq Khan has blocked that. 50 million quid it was going to cost them. Sadiq Khan has blocked that. He says it's not going to happen. And the suspicion is that people in the Labour Party, socialists, left-wingers, they hate Palantir. They've got this real thing about Palantir because it is owned by the American tech billionaire Peter Thiel, who's a close friend and ally of Donald Trump. So the allegation is, the suggestion is that Sadiq Khan has possibly endangered Londoners by allowing more crooks to run free because he's blocked this system, this AI system, purely because he doesn't like the owner, because the owner's a mate of Donald Trump. I mean, these are just allegations, but it's straight out of Sadiq Khan's political playbook, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, his, Mr. Woke MP, our leader, is kind of. It feels like he's all about performative politics. Palantir is kind of the more recent person or organization that's kind of the pro-Palestinian lot are trying to boycott. So it does feel incredibly political. The Ministry of Defence uses Palantir. They're regarded as the best in the industry. But I understand that there are obviously problems because I think they were the only ones who were up for it. And so perhaps it should be a more open process, but perhaps they're the only ones that can actually do this. But yeah, I do worry that I worry, like all Londoners, at the state of crime in our city, the state of the fact that police barely seem to have time. If you are reporting a crime, often they won't come. They'll, my mum's car was stolen from outside my house. No one came. They closed the case within a day. It's almost like policing doesn't take precedence anymore. You wonder what they're for in some ways.
Well, you would think, wouldn't you, Nicole, if the police, because he is Sadiq Khan, as the Mayor of London, is the sort of commissioner. He is in charge of the Met Police. He makes the ultimate decisions. But you would think if the Met Police went to him and said, look, which they have done, this AI system from Palantir could revolutionise our ability to catch the bad guys, and to crack down on crime in London. You would think that Sadiq Khan might be all for it, but he's blocked it, and critics say it's purely because the owner of the company that make this AI system is a close ally and friend of Donald Trump.
Yeah, there's the Trump element, and there's also an Israel element because it works with the IDF. So that's the obsession.
Yeah.
So I think if there wasn't the Israel element, there wouldn't be this focus on Palantir, and perhaps we would have better policing in the UK, in London. It's as short as that. It's just that they're choosing all these different companies to boycott. For example, Starbucks, Zara. They're desperate to boycott anyone. And the thing is that what we see with Palestine Action is that we see how it affects our own military, and in this case, we're seeing how it affects policing on our own streets. And it's almost like it's kind of treasonous self-sacrifice where they are insisting that we don't use these organisations, or that are somehow it's fine to attack our own aeroplanes because of their madness about Israel, their mad obsession with it. Yeah. It feels like that to me, and that's what Sadiq Khan is very. He's another one who, for a long time, you seem to think that any man who said he was a woman should therefore be accepted as a woman. They're just taken along with these lunatic politics without thinking ever with their heads.
Yeah, of course, it would, be an outrageous suggestion that being a Muslim and a left-wing socialist, that Sadiq Khan doesn't want to put any Palantir products because they deal with Israel. That would be an outrageous suggestion. I'm sure that didn't even enter his head, or that the owner, Peter Thiel, is a close friend and ally of Sadiq Khan's sworn enemy, Donald Trump. I'm sure that didn't enter his head in the decision-making process here. But I wonder what our audience think. Let me know. 03444991000. Last question to you, Nicole. Good to have you on the show as always. Prince Andrew, or the former Prince Andrew, massive developments today. Really serious, sensational allegations that he may have allegedly be guilty of sex offences, and the police have announced that they are investigating him for a potential offence of abusing a trafficked woman by Jeffrey Epstein back in 2010. They want to interview her, and they have asked for more victims, and they've stressed this is a significant investigation. And they've already talked to the Crown Prosecution Service about it. This goes hand in hand, of course, with what he was already being investigated for when he was arrested on his 66th birthday, which was malfeasance, misconduct in a public office. Now, if he gets found guilty or charged and found guilty of the sex offences, or shall we say both of these allegations, I mean, he's in huge trouble. The King's brother could go to jail. I mean, this is huge, isn't it?
It is incredible. What's interesting is that obviously this investigation is kind of 10 years old. It's in that the first allegations were in about 2014, 2015. And there wasn't then the political will or any sort of will, maybe because the Queen was on the throne, for this to be properly investigated when people like Virginia Giuffre were still alive. Now she's dead. King Charles is on the throne, and he seems much more willing for this to allow this to go ahead. So you do wonder whether there was some sort of protection or just not the will to go after him in the way that there is now. There seems to be just a huge amount of anger towards him. But yeah, it's absolutely shocking that he will be, His Majesty's brother will be at His Majesty's service.
It's possible. We mustn't prejudge the investigation or the potential trial, but these are sensational times. They really are, and Andrew has just hit a new low. Nicole, great to have you on the show. Have a lovely weekend. Thank you very much. That's Nicole Lampert, journalist, going through some of the big stories of the day. Next up, we're going to talk about a case that is truly shocking. It's a judge who let 3 rapists walk free from court and then praised them for the way they'd handled themselves in the trial, and then said, well, you couldn't possibly really understand the meaning of consent. Meanwhile, their 2 victims, their victim statements, they're distraught, their lives are ruined. What the earth was this judge thinking? We'll talk about that next. Stay tuned.
is a...
Chris O'Dowd! When you get the offer to be the voice of a sheep...
Yes, you can only dream, really.
Kelly Riley and Cole Hauser! Well, how much of rip does your husband in real life have about him?
I mean, yeah. I mean, he's a man.
He's a dude. Kirsty and Phil!
Can we talk about one other thing?
We can talk about loads of things. It's an interview.
Wake up, it's a beautiful morning.
I've got some breaking news here. The Crowborough Army Training Camp could hold male asylum seekers all the way until 2030. Good. After the Home Office claimed it would only be for 12 months. Not much ambition involved in that, is there, in terms of solving the migrant crisis?
Absolutely, and the way that the Labour government gaslit the public when the migrants were first moved in there, saying, you know, you guys are absolutely...
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Let's go straight over to my next guest. He is former Met Police Detective Mike Neville. Welcome, Mike.
Good evening, Kevin. From Wales today. From Wales.
always need a location check with you every time we talk to you. I'll tell you one thing, you get around. Now, this story is absolutely shocking. You alerted it to me. There has been a development. We'll talk about that in a second. But this comes on it's the way that the great and the good are increasingly displaying this warped moral worldview. So this comes on the week that the BBC sympathised with Afghan men selling their daughters into sex slave marriages. They said the poor guys, they're starving, you know, they have to do this. The poor, look at them, look at the pain on their faces. They didn't care about the poor little girls at all. You know, morally bankrupt way of reporting that story. I mentioned that as a backdrop to this extraordinary behaviour by this judge, a guy by the name of Nicholas Rowland. Now, the story is this, that three schoolboys, three rapists, they are rapists, all are now aged 15, walked free from court this week, despite the fact that they were found guilty of subjecting two girls, 14 and 15 years old, one of them to a 90-minute horrific ordeal, filming while they raped her, and they attacked the other at knife point, raped her, filmed that as well, laughing, having the time of their lives. This all happened in Hampshire, in a place called Fordingbridge in November 2024. So they come to court this week, and the judge concludes, lets them go, gives them some sort of non-sentence. And he says, oh, there's no need for any of you to go to prison today. You're very young. You have a limited understanding of consent. I think of you as very young, and none of you have been in any big trouble before. Big trouble being not, they've obviously been in trouble, but no big trouble. You've all done very well with the restrictions put in place throughout the trial. None of you need to go to prison today. Meanwhile, the girls' victim statements reveal that their lives have been ruined. Absolutely. They will never recover from this. Why didn't the judge think about the victims before letting these three little monsters go? Now, the development, Mike, is this. The government is now going to review this ludicrous sentence by this judge, Nicholas Rowland, because there have been so many complaints that they should be in custody, these three thugs. But, I mean, what on earth is going on that the judge actually praises these rapists? What's going on, Mike?
What's going on, Kevin, is you've got to imagine there's a massive disconnect between the establishment and normal people like me and you. These people live in an absolute fantasy world where these children are victims. I see the Mail reported that they were travellers, traveller family kids. And so I've no doubt that that influences as well, because in his mind they will be victims. So that to the left they are victims, so that they deserve these extra credits. And the whole thing is outrageous. If you look at this, isn't some kids who've had a fumble or something's gone. This is an evil rape. You said knife has been used, cameras used, filming, photographs. The length of the actual ordeal, the fact that at court they had the victims described as liars. There's just so many aggravating factors here. The thing that the two offences were 2 weeks apart, so it's not like a one single event. There's so much going on here. And then you have the ridiculous thing, of course, of Jess Phillips from the government saying, oh, we're going to review this. But we've had the Deputy Prime Minister, David Lammy, saying, well, there shouldn't be any prison sentences for people under 18.
Come on.
That's all. So it's all smoke and mirrors, Kevin. They're just bluffing out. Every time they bluff out the public, they come out, they'll say, we'll do all these things. And a simple analysis of what they're going to do is nothing what they say. They say one thing, and then they back down and they go back to this establishment belief that these kids are victims, we must let them out. Yeah, You've got to get into their mindset. That's what it is.
The judge says, oh, you've all done very well with the restrictions put in place throughout the trial, and your problems really are quite bad. Now, they were sentenced, these three thugs, these three rapists, vile little monsters. They were sentenced to a 10-year restraining order against their victims, so they're not allowed to go anywhere near the girls. Well, that's good. And they were also given a 3-year youth rehabilitation orders with intensive surveillance and supervision, while the youngest defendant's probation supervision will be for only 1.5 years. They were found guilty, one charge of rape, while the other was convicted of 3 charges of rape in connection with the first attack, and the first defendant was also found guilty of 1 count of rape, and the second convicted of 3 charges of rape connected to the second incident. So 2 separate incidents by 14 and 15-year-old boys against these poor girls. 15-year-old, they both get 15 now, the girls. This is their victim statements. One of them read a poem. One of the little girls read a poem. It said this: "All I want to do is die. I no longer have fear for when that comes." The other one, the second girl, said, "There are days where I feel emotionally numb and detached from those around me." I hope that judge listened to that and thought, oh my God, I've made a mistake here. These poor girls, why didn't he think about them?
Because this is the left, you see. The criminals are the victims. It's ever thus. And when you said there about all the strict supervision orders, as I've said before and here, if you look at electronic tags, my work on that has shown that only about 25% of breaches of the tag have actually anything done about it, and that might just be a telling off. So this idea they're going to be strictly supervised. And when you look at these rehabilitation orders, it's a bit like when me and you were kids, we probably went to the Scouts and stuff, and you know, our parents sent us off to the Scouts, and we did some activities, and we cleaned up the canal or whatever, we swept up something, helped the old folk. That's all these things are. It's nothing more than the equivalent of that. And if they don't turn up, I doubt anything will happen to them. What these youngsters know, what everybody knows these days, thieves and rapists, is they think of the consequences, and there are no consequences. They're very unlikely to be sent to jail. And as I say, if Lammy has his way, none of them will be sent to prison. And what kind of society will we live in then?
Yeah, so Nicholas Rowland, the judge, said that you're very young and you had a limited understanding of consent. So just picture it. This was in some underpass in Hampshire. This little girl, this teenage schoolgirl, is being filmed and raped while they're all laughing and filming her. Oh, you had a very limited understanding of consent. Do me a favour. Now, a government spokesman has now said that the Attorney General's office has received multiple requests for the sentences to be reviewed under the unduly lenient sentence scheme. The government said it shared the public's shock at the details of this horrific case, and its thoughts were with the young victims and its law officers. The Attorney General and Solicitor General are urgently reviewing the case with the utmost care and attention. They've got 28 days to make a decision. They better bang these little sods up, don't you think?
Yeah, I do think that, Kevin. Like you think it, but we're not the establishment. They don't think they should be banged up. They think they're the victims. And I said to you, the government are saying, in one hand, they're saying, we're going to review this and we'll put them in prison. On the other hand, you've got Lammy saying, no jail sentences for under 18. So who is telling the truth? What are they going to do? I suggest this is just mock outrage to smokescreen and cover it up so it'll all go away, and tomorrow the public will be worried about something else. It's utterly wicked. It's tragic. I was a soldier at 16, so I knew, I'm similar age to those lads, and I knew what right and wrong was. I knew what right and wrong was from being about 3 years old, and like you probably did, like most of your listeners and viewers did. But most of your listeners and viewers and you don't live in this weird world that's inhabited by the left liberal establishment.
Yeah, and as I said at the outset, this comes in the week where the BBC covered the story of all these Afghan fathers in Afghanistan selling their little daughters, underage daughters, into sex slave marriages. And the BBC reported this in the manner of, oh, these poor men, they're so desperate, they're starving, they're having to sell their children. Look at the pain etched upon their face. Never once focusing on those poor little girls. So that two, we get that, then this case. What we're talking about here, this is the suicidal empathy of the establishment, the left-wing establishment classes now. They're destroying us with this mad empathy, this misplaced empathy for the wrong people.
Yeah, absolutely, Kev. But you've got to look at, you've got to imagine on the left, they have a series of victim scores. You know, I remember Douglas Murray saying this about the three gay guys who were stabbed by the Muslim chap in Reading, and what he was saying is that they obviously have a less of a victim score than the Muslim man. And if you look at the guys in Afghanistan, they're Muslims, so in the eyes of the BBC and the left-wing establishment, they must be victims, and the same as this traveller family. Until we get back to justice being, justice is blind. We don't care if you're white, black, gay, straight, whatever religion you follow, you're going to get the same sentences. But the government showed at the start they were trying to amend all that. This is the insane world they live in, and we've got to change it.
I just don't know how the judge could have sat through this case and come to this and said all that nonsense. Oh, you're very brave. Oh, you didn't understand. Oh, off you go. Do me a favour, honestly. Mike, good to have you on the show, as always. Thank you so much. Mike Neville, their former Met Police detective. Let me know what you think about that. I think I've made my feelings fairly plain. What is going on? 3 rapists, who filmed and laughed while they put this girl through, this little schoolgirl, through a 90-minute ordeal, raping her, and another girl 2 weeks later raping her. And the judge says, oh, well, off you go, you know, you're very young. Oh, by the way, you behaved very well in the trial, and you've never been in any big trouble before. In other words, they have been in some trouble. And then not giving them a custodial sentence, letting them walk free. Let me know what you think about that. 03444991000. When we come back, still with stupid judges, we're going to talk about an immigration tribunal judge who has allowed another migrant to stay because of a sob story about if he goes home he's going to get killed. This one's a doozy though, you're going to enjoy it. That next, stick around.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Now, these immigration tribunals, these immigration judges, we just talked about some soppy judge who let 3 rapists walk free. But these immigration tribunal judges take the biscuit. You know, these are the ones who listen to paedophiles who've just come out of jail. said, "Oh, you can't send me back to my home country because they persecute paedophiles in my home country, and so they allow them to stay." And it's like, well, you know, we're not that keen on paedophiles in Britain either. And what about the danger these people pose to our children? Well, here's a good one. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll get my guest on and we'll run through it with him, shall we? Colonel Simon Diggins, Defence and Security Analyst and, of course, former Defence Attaché in Kabul. Welcome, Simon.
Kevin, good afternoon to you.
Now, this case is a doozy. This is an Iraqi guy who was due for deportation, but he went to the immigration tribunal and said, no, you can't deport me because if I get sent back to Iraq, I'll be killed, persecuted and killed. And his reason was, allegedly, that his father, his dad, was a captain in former dictator Saddam Hussein's army. Now, that may or may not be true. Sounds like it sounds a bit slightly implausible to me, but as always, every single time this happens, the judge swallows his pathetic sob story, hook, line and sinker, and now this chancer can stay, and he's also granted the privilege of anonymity. I mean, why? Why can't we know who he is at the very least? But every single time, Simon, this is what happens. Oh, I'll be killed if I get back. And the judges all, oh, well, you can say then.
We need to change the law. It's quite simple. It's very hard to prove whether or not he was directly threatened or not. It's not inconceivable, but I think we need to change the law. I mean, the invasion of Iraq, controversial as it was, it's over 20 years ago. There was 1 million plus members of Saddam's forces in arms, and therefore potentially at least, plus all their families. You know, there's 1 million potential claimants like this individual who comes along and say, well, my dad was in Saddam's forces, and therefore there is a possibility I might be persecuted. There's also the option of this individual of going to a part of Iraq which is not under the domination of the Shia militias. It is fair to say that in the south, the area where the British were, and also to some extent around Baghdad, they have a fair degree of dominance from that. But there's no widespread evidence that membership of the Ba'ath Party, and particularly sons of membership of the Ba'ath Party, is leading to direct persecution now. I'm sure it's uncomfortable in some parts of Iraq. There are other parts of Iraq, particularly in the north and the Kurdish areas, where that's not necessarily the case. So I think that's why we need to be a little bit more robust about what we're doing. But ultimately, I think what we need to do is change the law. Now, I mean, I don't know nothing about this particular judge, and it sounds bizarre on the surface, but he's probably just applying the law as it stands. So I think the answer probably with this, mostly, is change the law so we have a more robust attitude towards this, and frankly, a degree of common sense and also recognition of consequences. You know, what is the consequence of essentially allowing this individual to stay if it then creates effectively a kind of demand pull for the sons and daughters of upwards plus 1 million people who served with Saddam's forces when he was still in charge, and that's my concern about this whole thing. The law is clearly not fit for purpose.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's like every time one of these migrants says, oh, well, if you send me back to Syria or Somalia or Iraq or wherever, I'll be killed. The judge always goes, oh, well, you better stay then. I mean, it's a ruse. It's quite clearly a ruse. And you're right, Simon. I think that the judges are somewhat restricted by the current rules and regulations that surround these cases. They need to be given more leeway to make a decision about whether or not these people, these migrants, are frankly lying. And frankly, a lot of them will be. Of course they will be. They don't want to go home, so they tell fibs to the court, they get to stay. The judges need more leeway to make a judgment on whether or not these people are lying.
The other thing might be worth for your listeners is that, I mean, they do have some guidance. And so for every major country where we get a lot of asylum seekers, there is guidance on what the conditions are within those countries. Now, they come out from a sort of combination of advice between the Foreign Office and the Home Office. So again, I would say, along with changing the law, we need to make sure that guidance actually accurately reflects what is going on at the moment. It sounds to me like the guidance which they received is not up to date, and nor is it adequate to the circumstances. And I do think the other thing I said is, that some look at what the consequences of this should be part of it. I recall that Shabana Mahmood banned some speakers quite recently coming to the country because we said the consequences for civil order or disorder in this country. So the idea of the consequence of an action is part of, or should be part of the law. And I think that ought to be taken into account when these things are done. And the other thing I would say is, I still actively support bringing some of our former staff who work with us from Afghanistan to this country. So I'm not again people who genuinely have an issue.
Sure.
But the real problem is that when you have cases like this where the connection appears to be tenuous at the most, the degree of sympathy that those individuals then get is reduced. In other words, people who genuinely deserve our support, genuinely deserve our sympathy, don't get it because people who have the most tenuous link to what we were doing, the most tenuous of asylum circumstances, grab the headlines, and that just doesn't help at all.
Absolutely. This is just me being, no doubt, too characteristically cynical, but I think what would help with these immigration tribunals is if all the tribunal judges were banned from reading their favourite newspaper, The Guardian. But that's just me talking, Simon. Let me ask you one more question. Moving on, the Telegraph are reporting that Britain, in the event of a war with Russia, heaven forbid, only has enough drones for 1 week. That our military stockpile of drones is so low that it would vanish within days of war breaking out with Moscow, or I assume anyone else. Defence chiefs fear that Vladimir Putin could be ready to invade Europe by the end of the decade if a peace deal is struck with the Ukraine. 1 week of drones. I mean, look at Iran. They seem to have an endless supply, but we've only got 7 days worth. Another egregious example of our depleted military force.
Absolutely, and it's wide in that, Kevin. I mean, the whole issue of national resilience is not just about the effectiveness, capability and resources, including logistical resources of our armed forces. It's a whole national resource piece, and it could be anything from having storage facilities for oil, believe it or not, which is exactly what we haven't got at the moment. It's why we're so vulnerable. But resilience costs money. At the moment, the government is talking the talk. It talked about having national resilience. We had Keir Starmer standing up and saying, that this is going to be a national struggle. We've got John Healey saying, as you rightly point out, that we could have a war with Russia within 4 years. So we're getting the talk, but we haven't had the resource to go with it. We were promised a week or so ago that there'll be talk of some money coming back to the MOD. That hasn't happened. The bill that was supposed to go through Parliament to look at our national resilience, which is one of the products of the SDR, hasn't happened. Defence Investment Plan hasn't happened. I mean, all the time, you just this delay. And the Labour Party's now gone into internal spin, which may or may not pop out a new leader by the end of this year. We've then got 3 years before Vladimir Putin is ready to invade us. Yes, we're way behind the curve, but you've got to start somewhere. At the moment, we are not. And I can say it till I'm blue in the face, but we are in a desperate situation in terms of defence and security. We can't defend our homeland, and we can't. We couldn't fight for more than a week. Is just, frankly, it's shameful, utterly shameful, and it's not the fault of the current sort of serving soldiers and officers. They're good people. The quality there is as good as it's always been, but they need support from the country, and that means making hard decisions, really hard decisions about where our priorities and where our resources are going to go. And we're just not prepared to do that at the moment, and that's just it is beyond shameful. It's a catastrophe.
Blimey. Last question to you, moving on. Really taking you around the houses here, aren't I? But the Strait of Hormuz is still subject to this twin-pronged blockade. The Iranians are blocking it, and so are the Americans. And there's an article in the Spectator magazine, the new edition, by a guy called John Powers, I think it is, and it lays out just how catastrophic this is going to be. I don't think that people in this country or many people around the world are aware of the hellish effect of this. It's going to hit us fairly soon unless something can be sorted out and that stretch of water off the coast of Iran can be reopened. We're going to be in big economic trouble.
We are, and again, this is where the lack of resilience really counts if we had got our own resources, if we were using the North Sea oil and gas, if we had fuel storage tanks that we'd got going, if we had our own refining capacity, all of which we've basically been closing down. One of the last major refineries closed in October of last year. I mean, that's the challenge we've got. And this is a collective fault, not just of the current Labour government, though. Under Mad Miliband, it's just got worse and worse and worse. But under the previous government as well, where we were so obsessed with this idea that we can get anything we want from the global system whenever we want it, that we have forgotten about the really essential bits. National autarky. This idea of some things have to be. You've got to have yourself, because that's the only way you've got resilience and you can rely upon yourself. We are probably the most exposed of all the major economies in the world to the potential failures that are going to come up, and we seem to be making it worse. I mean, the lead thing this week where Miliband passed this bill, or tried to pass this bill, basically closing down all licenses in the North Sea. I mean, just completely the wrong answer. I mean, great if we can get solar power and wind power, but we know it's not going to work, and we know it makes no difference in terms of the effect on the world. It's pure ideological zealotry, and he wants that regardless of anything else. So across a whole range of pieces, we are very exposed. It'll take a couple of months. There's still something sort of moving around, if you like, in the pipelines. But eventually, that's going to come to a close.
It's going to hit. It's going to hit us like a freight train, yeah, Simon. Absolutely. It really will. Simon, thank you so much. Good to have you on the show as always. Colonel Simon Diggins, there, Defence and Security Analyst, former Defence Attaché in Kabul. By the way, that Strait of Hormuz. The government's attitude to our government is like, la, 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 it's not happening. Well, it is happening. It's not going to get unblocked. And even if it does get unblocked, the companies, the shipping companies don't want to use it anymore. They don't trust it. We're in trouble, folks. Sorry to be so depressing. We're okay at the moment, but fairly soon it's all going to run out. And we will hit the wall. We will hit the wall very badly. Next up, it's Sun Sport World Cup Squad Day, and it's a hell of a weekend for Spurs and West Ham. We'll talk about that next. Stay tuned.
Mad.
Chris O'Dowd! When you get the offer to be the voice of a sheep...
Yes, you can only dream, really.
Kelly Riley and Cole Hauser! Well, how much of Rip does your husband in real life have about him?
I mean, yeah. I mean, he's mad.
He's
dude.
Kirsty and Phil!
Can we talk about one other thing?
We talk about loads of things. It's an interview.
Wake up, it's a beautiful morning.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Now, it's wrong to intrude on private grief, but West Ham fan Mike Anstead, head of sport content at The Sun, is in the studio. How are you?
Brutal, Kev, brutal. The weekend ahead for me, and Yeah, you've just reminded me of what's been playing on my mind for the last week.
Yeah,
So
we'll get to that. It's going to be a hell of a weekend for Spurs and West Ham. One of them will be doomed this weekend. But we need to talk, obviously, about the big football story of the day. The World Cup squad, England squad, has been named by Thomas Tuchel. Well, he's backing his decision to axe Cole Palmer, Foden and Maguire. Foden, he's had a terrible season, and I can understand that. He says he wants to concentrate on set pieces. He thinks the World Cup's going to be won by set pieces because it's going to be very hot and the games will be played at a slow pace. So all the goals he thinks will come from set pieces. Well, why would you axe Harry Maguire from the squad then? He's good at set pieces.
Absolutely. I mean, look, Harry Maguire, the defender, is one thing. He's a pretty reliable defender, but I mean, he's one of the players you think of for late goals in the not just Premier League. He's done it in Europe as well. It is the big man up for a corner, and Maguire often nods one away. That's not a bad thing to have as an option if you're 1-0 down or drawing 1-1, needing a win in the World Cup. He seems like a pretty good bloke from what we know. Harry Maguire, good one around the camp, decent leader, gets on with most people. So it is a strange decision, particularly when you look at some of the defenders. I mean, John Stones is in there. John Stones hasn't played very much football this season at all for Man City, so there's got to be doubts over him. A bit of inexperience there as well. So that one's a big gamble.
Is Dan Burn an international standard player?
I'm not convinced he is. No. I think a good squad
man.
Former
Fulham man, by the way.
Yeah, former Fulham man, but a good squad man, and again, someone you wouldn't mind having up for a corner or a free kick late on, but I'm not as much
as you'd like to have Harry Maguire.
No, I'm not sure he's quite in the same league as Maguire. I mean, certainly if you're having Maguire up against a top team, you'd be a bit more confident than if you had Dan Burn at the back. With the greatest respect to him, he's had a good trajectory in his career, but I think the World Cup perhaps is a bit too much.
Now, personally, not that I would ever be in the chance of being the England manager, although I am available for the money they get. I wouldn't axe Cole Palmer from Chelsea because Cole Palmer is a match changer.
Yeah, he is, but he hasn't done it much in the last 6 months. It's got to be said. I mean, Phil Foden's really struggled to form over.
Yeah, Foden's out of the loop.
Yeah,
I get
over
that.
an 18-month period. But you'd say, look, if you were sitting here a year ago, which is the piece Martin Lipton wrote in our paper this morning, and Cole Palmer's won the Club World Cup with Chelsea, just beating PSG, who are about to play Arsenal in the Champions League final next week, obviously. Just beating them, and you see the season he's come off with Chelsea, you think, well, he's absolutely the starting number 10 for England at the World Cup. The fact that he's fallen off the cliff. And it's interesting today, Tuchel in his kind of explanation is pointing a bit to kind of, what he brings and the culture he wants in it and leadership. And is there maybe a bit of an issue with Palmer, what he's also bringing to the camp or not bringing to the camp? Yeah. There's obviously Tuchel's placing a big thing on personalities and leadership.
Okay. Let's have a quick listen to Tuchel, shall we?
I think from day one we were very clear that we are trying to select and build the best possible team, which is not necessarily to select and collect the 26 most talented players. Teams win championships. It's as simple as that. And what we are trying to achieve in summer can only be achieved as a team.
I mean, he's a very, very good manager and a very bright guy. So, you have to listen to what he's saying there. But I find it kind of strange to say you don't necessarily pick your 26 best players.
No, it's true. I mean, look, I suppose he would also argue number 10s, he's got quite a lot of them, hasn't he? So Eze's in the squad. He was on the sort of the Willy Won't-y sort of camp. You've got Jude Bellingham in there, obviously, huge player, Real Madrid. Yeah. You've got Morgan Rogers. He really likes Morgan Rogers.
I do too.
Off the back of winning this, European trophy with Villa. So he has got options. Obviously, then you throw in the likes of Rashford, Gordon,
What's Ivan
Saka.
Toney doing there?
Ivan Toney's a very interesting choice, isn't he?
Yes!
I mean, all the rumours around...
He's scored 32 goals in Saudi Arabia, so what?
I'd back you to score 31, Kev.
Yeah, exactly.
And I know your salary is considerably closer
more
to the Saudis.
than they get in Saudi Arabia.
You'd have to take a pay cut to go there, obviously. But no,
he's a good penalty taker.
He's a good penalty taker, but I mean, there's lots of good penalty takers in that squad.
That's what I said,
It's interesting because we've really felt up until this moment Tuchel's not really fancied him, barely given him any minutes up at this point. he's got these other strikers like Ollie Watkins. He could have picked Calvert-Lewin. He could have picked Welbeck. Others. He's gone with Tony, and Tony, we do know. I mean, he's admitted he's had to have some talks with him before he's picked him as well, and we know the history and baggage that's come with Tony from his ban in the game as well. So that is
he's 30 as well, isn't he? 30 years old.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a very interesting pick. I mean, look, there's no chance he's starting if Harry Kane's fit, but he might be needed off the bench if we're struggling in the game.
I suppose if they go to penalties in the World Cup, though?
Well, you'd want him on the pitch for that.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
So that may be a part of his thought process there. Let's talk about the big London weekend. Your team, West Ham, you're playing Leeds, aren't you? And Spurs have got Everton.
We have to prefix it.
Are you both at home?
We have to prefix it. Tottenham are playing David Moyes' Everton. That's a key thing of this weekend. So
are both Spurs and West Ham are at home, aren't they?
Yeah,
right?
Both at home. Which is probably bad news for both clubs because they're not very good at home.
They're just not. They're just not very good.
Not very good.
What you got then? We were just talking about this off air. The mathematics of it is just for West Ham is this: West Ham have to win and Spurs have to lose.
Yeah, don't worry about any of the permutation. The only one that keeps West Ham up and sends Spurs down is Spurs lose and West Ham win. Any other combination of results, Spurs stay in the Premier League. So look, that probably tells you where the odds are stacked.
Yeah, actually, no, my producer, who's a Spurs fan, has just said that's unless Spurs win 14-0.
Oh, sorry, yeah, have to.
They got to lose 14-0.
Yeah, of course, yeah. So I should have mentioned that.
I wouldn't put it past it. Spurs are very capable of that.
But what's interesting, I mean, this sideshow Christian Romero, the captain's created today. So captain of Spurs, out injured, so he wouldn't have been playing anyway. Has gone back to Argentina this week to watch one of his hometown teams play in a big match back there. So he's not stayed, which I think tells you a lot about Christian Romero. This is a guy who's going to be playing for Argentina at the World Cup. Club captain, doesn't matter what you're doing, he should be at that stadium. That is a terrible, terrible look. And it'd be interesting to see how the players kind of react to that. But obviously Spurs, there's a whole lot of nerves around that stadium. You've then got the West Ham Stadium where there's always nerves and there's always the kind of, do we want to be here? It's like Upton Park. West Ham have got no other option. They've just got to go for it. How does Spurs set out? Do they play for a draw? Go a bit gung ho?
My mate I was with last night, he's got a few quid and he's got one of these Supersonic season tickets that's got his name stitched onto the back of the chair. He says he's going to unstitch it if they go down.
Yeah.
Very quickly, this would have been our lead story normally. We've only got a few seconds left, but Michael Carrick has been confirmed as the Manchester United manager. Meanwhile, across Manchester, Pep Guardiola admits he's run out of energy at Man City just in time for those financial allegations to come to fruition, right?
Exactly. Well, that's taken a lot of energy out of the lawyers. But yeah, Pep's basically finally confirmed he's going. Said he's run out of energy. You're not surprised the way he's going. He's there with his fingernails in his head and manic on the touchline. So he's gone a big loss in the Prem for personality-wise, and in comes Michael Carrick at Man United, who's done a great job, but is he the man to win them the Prem?
Interesting times. What a weekend it's going to be. Thank you very much to Mike Ansted. All in the Sun tomorrow. Next up, it's Paul Cox with all the big stories of the day. Stick around.
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Fairly soon we're going to take your calls. That's 0344 499 1000. We're going to give it a half-hour run at the end of the show from 6:30 onwards. So get on the phone and let me know what do you think about Bridget Phillipson kind of sending mixed messages. So saying biological men, as in blokes in dresses, are banned from female loos and banned from women's safe spaces, and then saying, but you can't really challenge anyone if you see a guy with a beard and a dress in your loos. You can't go up and say you shouldn't be here. What does that mean? What kind of mixed message is that? What do you think? 0344 499 1000. I've got a text here from Zarina. She says, as a mother, I cannot allow my daughter to use public loos. It's too dangerous. It's a safeguarding issue. Do you agree with Zarina? I do. What do you think? 0344 499 1000. Meanwhile, up in Makerfield, Andy Burnham, that political shapeshifter par excellence, has done it again. 2 months ago, we really want to join rejoin the EU. I absolutely do. I'm going to come out and say it. I want to rejoin the EU. Now he doesn't want to rejoin the EU. And I'll tell you why. It's because the people of Makerfield don't want to rejoin the EU. Also, he, in the past, has made it very clear he thinks blokes should be allowed into ladies' loos. Men should be able to invade women's safe spaces. Now, he's announced he's changed his mind. He's U-turned on his trans views. Guess why? Because the people of Makerfield don't share his woke, nonsensical worldview. What do you think about that? What do you think about Keir Starmer going up to Makerfield? Do you think that will be a boost for Andy Burnham's campaign, or do you think Keir Starmer's trying to ruin his chances? 0344 499 1000. And let me know what you think about this. In Kent County Council, run by Reform UK, they're going to start, it's a new innovation there, they're going to start every council meeting with a reciting of the Lord's Prayer, and they're going to finish every council meeting with a rendition, everybody singing the national anthem. Do you think all councils should do that? What do you think? 0344 499 1000. And what do you think about Prince Andrew? He is now being officially investigated by police for alleged sex offences. So he's in even deeper trouble. What do you think that means to the royal family? 0344 499 1000. And also, really want to hear from you about this extraordinary, this shocking case of the three little thugs who raped two underage girls. They were only schoolboys themselves at the time. They raped these girls twice, filmed them, laughed, put them on their cameras, ha, ha, ha. A judge let them go, saying, oh, you're too young to understand the meaning of consent, and you behaved very well in the trial. So they didn't get custodial sentences. The government is now reviewing that. David Lammy, the Justice Secretary, is reviewing that verdict by a judge called Nicholas Rowland. He praised the kids, these little monsters, these rapists, for the way they behaved throughout the trial. I mean, what's going on? Anyway, David Lammy is reviewing that because, of course, they have been inundated with complaints that those sentences, such as they were, non-custodial sentences, were ludicrously lenient. What was that judge thinking? 0344 499 1000. What about the two little girls who gave victim statements that would make you weep? Their lives are ruined because of what these monsters did to them, and the judge let them go didn't seem to have any care for the victims. 03444991000. Get on the phone, let's talk. It's good to talk on Talk. Now, let's move on to my next guest. We're going to go through some of the big stories of the day with comedian Paul Cox. Welcome, Paul.
Good evening or afternoon. I'm never quite sure what this time is. It's evening.
It's evening. So the sun is over the yard arm. I think that's what happens at 6 p.m. That's when, in the military, you're allowed to have a drink. And the diplomatic corps. When the sun, was it the Navy, wasn't it? When the sun's over the yard arm, you can start knocking back the rum.
Lovely, Jeffrey.
I don't usually wait that long, but there you go. Right. Well, let me get your view first, Paul, on Prince Andrew. The police are now investigating him for alleged sex offences, including one of his paedo pal, Jeffrey Epstein's trafficking victims, a girl who was flown over, I think in 2010, to Britain from America, taken to Andrew's royal residence then, Royal Lodge in Windsor Great Park, where allegedly she became his sexual plaything. So he's being investigated for that. The police are looking for a statement from the victim. They've also put a call out for anybody else to come forward, and they've announced that this is a very significant investigation, and they've already spoken to the Crown Prosecution Service, all of which indicates he's in big trouble, and if he's ever found guilty of these offences, he's going to jail. The King's brother could go to jail. This is extraordinary.
It's very serious, Kevin. It's a big worry for him, although I don't care any longer. I'm a royalist and monarchist, and when this story first started maybe some years ago, I used to show quite a bit of sympathy towards Andrew and think, well, you know, come on, there's a lot of mud being chucked here. He's not been proven guilty of anything. Let's go easy. But the more this stuff goes on, look, there'll be plenty of people watching and listening to us now, Kevin, who still have that view, because they'll say he's never been found guilty of anything, and this is just endless
persecution.
Sort of
yeah.
Well, yeah, but at the same time,
a witch hunt is what they say, but it's not a witch hunt.
Sorry, that's the word I was looking for.
It's not a witch hunt, though, is it? I mean, you know,
I don't think so.
We can't prejudge the veracity of these charges, but they are serious, and the police, in their statement, Thames Valley Police, went to great lengths to stress. They said this is a significant investigation, and we are talking to the Crown Prosecution Service. That always means that the police are optimistic that this will lead to charges and a trial.
Yes, and oh my goodness, what would that do for the royal family, Kevin? The other thing, of course, is he was arrested on his birthday, February the 19th, it was his 66th birthday. And at that point, we thought it was just because
it was a misconduct in a public office when he was.
Yeah, this is all when he was when he was an envoy. But it seems that as part of that role, the investigation has widened significantly. And during that time, not only may have been passing on information he shouldn't have done, he may have been conducting himself in a way he definitely shouldn't have done. We know at that time who he was friends with, and where there's smoke, there's fire, unfortunately, and there is a lot of smoke when it comes to Andrew. I wouldn't wish this upon anyone's family. The King has enough to deal with, you know, obviously recovering from cancer and still having cancer treatment, I understand. So this is a terrible time for them all. And he's done all he can now, the King. Whatever you might think of this particular King, there isn't much more he can do. He is, you know, unless he puts him in a 2 up, 2 down in a council estate somewhere. Which
works for me.
Yeah, I don't have too much of an issue with that myself, Kevin. But he's basically stripped him of everything and moved him out. There is a very serious and sinister side to this, and unfortunately, it's revealing something many people who are sort of particularly anti-monarchists have always said, is that the monarchy don't have a place in this modern world anymore, and they're behaving in a way that they believe they're above the law. I don't buy into that doctrine, by the way. Like I said, I'm a royalist, but certainly with Andrew, it feels like he was the spoiled, not quite youngest son, but the favourite of his mother, the Queen.
Yeah.
And
the Queen, I'll tell you one thing, Paul. I'll tell you one thing. We have to think about the Queen here. You know, we all admire the Queen and a remarkable woman and all that, but Prince Andrew was her weakness. He was her favourite son. he was her Achilles heel. He should never have been made a trade envoy for this country. Tony Blair acceded to the the Queen's requests. Could you give him a job, please? Could he do this? So Tony Blair said, yeah, all right then. And after that, I think he spent about 4 years swanning around the world at our expense, lining his own pockets, and allegedly along the way sexually abusing women. This is, in a sense, this is a Queen's fault. Now, you know, you don't blame a mother for, you know, being overprotective or of their son or anything like that, but her judgment on this was way off beam. It really, really was. So we're going to think about that. But if Andrew ends up going to jail, that'll be a serious existential problem for the royal family. The people of Britain may well go, that's it, we've had enough of this.
Yeah, there is definitely a danger of that. Look, parents are parents. You know, she was trying her best to look after Andrew, I think. I mean, I don't have a favourite, and I've only got one. So, it's, you know, I don't quite understand. But look, it seemed that she never put her foot wrong, particularly in her position as Queen. But when it came to being the mother of Andrew, formerly known as Prince, she made many mistakes and blinded. You can't, you know, there are plenty of mums and dads out there that are blinded by their little cherubs. So it's very difficult to say. And I'm kind of loath, as I can sense you are, Kevin, to say anything particularly negative about Queen Elizabeth II. She was a wonderful monarch. But this, obviously, it does look as if she pushed him forward, pulled levers. And you know that may have inadvertently and allegedly led to some pretty serious crimes.
Well, and it may well lead to the final fall of the royal family, and it harks back to a time or something that I think we must hope is now dead, and that is the way that royals were were given so much privilege as if they were above the law, given roles that they were. He was not qualified to do that.
No.
You know, his own staff warned the government, saying, well, don't send him anywhere with a golf course, and if you do, if he takes his clubs, try and make sure he plays at a private course so he's not spotted. Oh, and don't burden him with any paperwork or meetings. Absolutely absurd, absolutely absurd. So that age of royal patronage, royal privilege, that has to be over. They're not different to us, and they mustn't be treated different to us. Now, let's move on, Paul. Let's talk about Andy Burnham. Now, 2 months ago, he said he fervently wanted, he is, of course, Labour's candidate up there in the Makerfield by-election. He wants to win that, get to Westminster, and then defenestrate Keir Starmer. In a sense, I wish him well with that endeavour, but I don't really appreciate what he's doing, treating the people of Makerfield like a pawn in his chess game, his political chess game, taking them for a granted vote for me. They may do, they may not. But he's having to appeal to this constituency full of solid northern good folk who are Brexiteers. They, in fact, believe in everything that Andy Burnham doesn't. So 2 months ago, he repeated his fervent desire for us to rejoin the European Union. He said, I'm going to come out and say this, I want to rejoin. Now he says he doesn't want to rejoin. He also made it clear that he fervently believed that men in dresses should be allowed into ladies' loos. Blokes should be allowed into women's safe spaces, you know, trans-identifying men and all that. Now he says he's changed his mind. He doesn't believe in that anymore. Do you think that's because the people of Makerfield don't believe in that? He's shape-shifting according to what they believe. This isn't what he believes.
No, you don't even need to be cynical to agree with that, I don't think. There's a lot of hubris and quite a bit of arrogance going on here. First of all, from Josh Simons for stepping aside, who just less than 2 years ago said to the people of Makerfield, I'm your man, and I'm your man because I am at the helm of Labour together, and therefore I support Keir Starmer, and I'm the one who's going to get him to the premiership. Less than 2 years later, he's gone, no, I'm out now. And by the way, I'm backing a different horse. It's Andy Burnham who's coming in now, who is acting as if you know, he's this king of the north. And the more I learn about Andy Burnham from the perspective of people in that greater Manchester area and the northwest at large, he's not been as successful as people would have us believe. You know, homelessness has gone through the roof. One thing I thought Andy Burnham had got on top of was homelessness. A whole bunch of crime's gone through the roof. Yes, public transport is brilliant, but of course he doesn't believe. This is the ultra progressive, woke, contemporary left of the Labour Party entirely exposed. He's meeting for the first time in his career a group of traditional Labour voters, and he's literally having to about turn on everything he said previously to appease them. This is a man who clearly went through school knowing what the birds and the bees were about, knowing who had what genitals, became a grown-up and said that actually ladies can have a penis, only to go back later on when it suits him to say, oh no, they can't.
Women can have penises. Oh, wait a minute, it turns out they can't.
It's totally preposterous, right? I am sort of pleading here with the people of Makerfield to make their judgment wisely. I know we can't talk too much about it, Kevin, so I won't, but
well, we can at the moment. We're not bound by any restrictions. We will be next week, so we can speak openly about both candidates because it's between Robert Kenyon, the Reform UK candidate, a local plumber, and of course lifelong politician, Westminster Labour type Andy Burnham. Here, let's have a quick look and listen to Andy in Makerfield today. He officially launched his campaign today. Here he is.
I did say it's a vote to change local Labour too. You know, you can't look at the council election results, Labour losing 24 out of 25 seats, and not recognise that as a call for real change, both in local politics and in national politics. I think it was a statement saying both of those things, to be honest. So I could have stood there today and done the usual by-election thing. Oh, the Tories this, the Lib Dems that, Reform the other. But I didn't do that because it's on us first and foremost. We need to be better. We need to be better. I've asked people in this by-election to knock on every door, to listen to people, to reconnect with people, because we need to do that. We need to change Labour back to the party people here once knew, a party solidly on the side of working class people in communities.
Yeah, so that's, Paul, his interpretation of Labour losing 23 of the 25 local seats to Reform UK. Or what's the message to us that we've got to change? No, I'll tell you what that message is to Labour, Andy. It's two words and the second one's off.
It certainly is, and rightly so as well. This particular version of the Labour Party have totally taken advantage of anyone in that area. They're completely appealing to the North London Liberal elite. They do not stand for the things that they were supposed to stand for. And guess who's filled that vacuum? Reform UK. That's exactly stepped in. You've only got to look at Kenyon. Look at the contrast between those two characters. Kenyon seems like this very down-to-earth. You know, there's been some things that he said in the past that tell you that he's very much a man of the area, a man of his class, and that's exactly what people are interested in. The idea that we want some smooth politician like Andy Burnham, who shapeshifts, as you rightly pointed out, into different things for different people at different times. That's for the birds. Utter nonsense. We don't want anybody like that anywhere near power. But unfortunately, a whole party that are filled with people just like that happen to have a majority in the Houses of Parliament at the moment. And Andy Burnham still represents that Labour Party. He's trying to do some astonishing things at the moment. He's trying to make him sound like he's an independent candidate, whilst also being a Labour candidate. And we might cover this in a bit, but with Keir Starmer going up,
I was going to ask you about that. Yeah, Andy Burnham needs Keir Starmer to go up to Makerfield and help him campaign there, like he needs one of his legs sawn off.
Exactly, and I love the fact that Keir Starmer is almost trolling now, going, "Oh, absolutely, yeah, I should go and support Andy." This is what we need to
do.
I
reckon he will as well. Listen, let's go to break, Paul. When we come back, let's talk more about this Keir Starmer factor in Makerfield. It is an extraordinary situation, so stay where you are. We'll be back in a moment, folks. Stay tuned.
The offer to be the voice of a sheep.
Yes, you can only dream, really.
Kelly Riley and Cole Hauser. How much of Rip does your husband in real life have about him?
I mean, yeah. I mean, he's mad.
He's Kirsty and Phil.
Can we talk about one other thing?
We can talk about loads of things. It's an interview.
Wake up, it's a beautiful morning.
I've got some breaking news here. The Crowborough Army Training Camp could hold male asylum seekers all the way until 2030. After the Home Office claimed it would only be for 12 months. Not much ambition involved in that, is there, in terms of solving the
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Still with comedian Paul Cox. We're going through some of the big stories of the day. Paul, we were discussing before the break this amusing intervention into the Makerfield by-election by the Prime Minister Keir Starmer, the current Prime Minister Keir Starmer, who says he will go up to, quotes, help, close quotes, Andy Burnham campaign there. Now, I reckon he will go, and he's not going up there to help Andy Burnham. I think he's going up there to ruin Andy Burnham's chances, because if Andy Burnham gets voted in, Starmer's finished. In fact, Burnham gets to Westminster, Starmer's over. So Starmer going to Makerfield, where they'd rather have the Yorkshire Ripper visit them than the current Prime Minister, that could ruin it for Andy Burnham, and Starmer knows it.
I'm actually going to make Keir Starmer a T-shirt that says, I support Andy and Andy supports me. And that would just absolutely end it for him, because the idea that Andy Burnham, and we know that he has in the past, supports Keir Starmer, is kryptonite to his political campaign in Makerfield. And look, I said earlier, and I thought we were in Purdah, so I didn't push it too hard, but
you can now.
I would urge the people of Makerfield to really look at this, because whilst you might have voted Labour your whole life, your parents might have voted Labour, your grandparents, I come from a family like that also. This Labour Party does not represent you. Andy Burnham does not represent you. Keir Starmer has never represented you. There has to be a change. We all know there has to be a change. And the only way there can be a change is to not get Andy Burnham in as MP for Makerfield, because he is going to immediately become the Prime Minister of the UK by the end of the year. And if we thought that Keir Starmer was bad, Andy Burnham is going to be worse. You've only got to look at the short campaign that has ensued so far, where he's confused about what a woman is.
Well, no, not anymore. He's changed his mind.
Well,
he's changed his mind about rejoining the EU. He's changing his mind about a lot of opinions that he very strongly held, which he's discovered that the people of Makerfield detest. He's changing. He's becoming much more like the people of Makerfield all of a sudden. Gee, I wonder why.
Look, we need politicians and politics of conviction. We really do. We need people who are clear in their mind. You and I, Kevin, if you'd asked us in 1983 or in 2026 what we thought a woman was, we could have told you. And in 1983, I was 4. So I could have definitely have, I still would have been able to tell you then. I would have been able to point at something and said, that little thing doesn't belong on a lady. However, someone like Andy Burnham's not been able to do this, and of course he thinks like you and I. He doesn't think any differently. He's lying to himself and he's lying to everybody else. And we need people of conviction. I don't want to say here who you should vote for. I really do want to say who you shouldn't vote for, though, because this has been a disastrous couple of years. On top of, by the way, 14 years of very bad Tory politics, 2 years of this has been absolute. We didn't think it could get
horrible.
anywhere.
It's just unbelievable.
Really
by the way, Paul, while this lot are fighting like rats in a sack, this Labour lot, internecine battles, getting rid of Starmer, etc., etc., we're not being governed. And these are very, very turbulent times. We need strong government at a time when we've got no government whatsoever, because Labour are too busy contemplating their own navel.
Yeah, and think about what that means. It doesn't just mean the civil service, the blob at a top level doing nothing. It means local politics as well. Let's take Jess Phillips, just as sorry to remind you of her, Kevin, but she still exists.
Let's take Jess Phillips, please. Yeah.
But look, she have this incredibly important, whatever you might think of her, she had an incredibly important job, which she kept telling us was her life's work. She just walked away from it like that, just like that, because it didn't suit her politically to stay in position. These are not politicians of conviction. She is looking for a job in the next cabinet, so that is why she pulled at that point. We don't need people like this. We got to this point as Great Britain because of people. It's not just Jess Phillips, by the way. That's just an example. But there are many politicians. We had 7 PMs in 5 years or whatever it was. It's utterly ridiculous. We're a laughing stock. We need to get back to some sort of stability, and there are going to be some incredible difficult decisions to make. And we can't have them being made by people who are confused by genitalia or are purely looking out for themselves.
Absolutely. It's interesting you say that you come from a family where your parents always voted Labour. My parents, my mother, they often didn't vote. Do you know why?
Why?
Prisoners aren't allowed to vote.
I know that's not true.
That Mum and Dad, R.I.P. and all that, that was just a joke. But seriously, I mean, what's your feeling about what will happen in Makerfield? We should mention, say a few words about Robert Kenyon, the Reform UK candidates. The vote for Reform UK might be slightly split by Rupert Lowe. He's going to put a Restore candidate in there, and there's going to be a Tory candidate there as well. So that Reform vote might get split a bit, but we're talking basically about a 2-horse race. Robert Kenyon is a local guy. He's a plumber, runs his own business. He's a genuine local guy, by the way. Don't forget, Andy Burnham's a Scouser. He's not a Manc. And he seems to stand for, Robert Kenyon seems to stand for what all the people of Makerfield voted for 2 weeks ago in the local election. So what's your... But that said, electorates have a long tradition of they always like the idea of being represented by the Prime Minister, so that might play in Burnham's favour.
Yes.
He is a strong candidate, to be fair, and he does speak human. There's, for all, I'm with you, I don't like anything he stands for, but I don't think there's any doubt that he's quite a nice guy, and he can talk human, and he will be a good candidate. But so you've got, Burnham with all of what he stands for and the sheer allure of a potential for future Prime Minister and all his political skills, and then you've got Robert Kenyon, local plumber, army reservist, who is a Makerfield guy through and through, clearly believes the same things that most people in Makerfield believe. What's your gut feeling about what the result of this election might be?
If I'm honest, I think it's an Andy Burnham win purely for a lot of the things that you covered. I think people can be slightly rose-tinted and blinded by the slick politician, the man who is perceived to have done incredibly well in Manchester. Yes, I agree. He's a nice guy. From people I know that know him, they say he's a nice guy, but you never know quite how to take that. But he does seem it on face value. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say that about Keir Starmer, for instance. So he's probably a nicer guy than Keir Starmer. However, when you look at the makeup of Makerfield, 67% of them voted to Brexit in 2016. 97% of them are white. Now, I'm not usually someone who points out somebody's skin colour. I think it's fairly irrelevant. But we know in modern politics it's very relevant. And I think that says a lot of things, because if you go back to Gorton and Denton, that was quite the opposite there. And people voted against that, and that's why we ended up with Sarah Spencer, God bless her. But in Makerfield,
Hannah Spencer. Yeah.
Sorry, what did I say?
Yeah, Sarah.
So I have no idea who Sarah Spencer is.
Who is Sarah
I'd like
Spencer?
to apologise to her.
Let me just put that out to the audience. Who is Sarah Spencer? 03444991000. Do you know that Hannah Spencer who dresses like a fruit salad? Somebody described her hairstyle as a children's TV presenter chic. It is, isn't it? She's got a Blue Peter hairstyle.
But people are voting that way. They're voting along tribal lines, sectarian lines. But Makerfield is very different. And I don't think this is as easy as Andy Burnham sets out. I can see Robert Kenyon winning. There is an idea that he could be split by the right vote. I'm rapidly coming to this opinion, though, Kev, that no votes are owned by anyone. Okay, it's particularly in this sort of like contemporary politics that we're seeing right now. So if they want to go to Reform, they will go to Reform. If they want to go to Labour, they will go to Labour. It doesn't matter if Restore puts Rupert Lowe in there himself. Obviously, they can't, but you know what I mean. Yeah. It doesn't really matter. But they don't. Nobody owns any votes.
Yeah.
Andy Burnham's got a cheek. Andy Burnham has got a real cheek. And the people, we should all feel slightly sorry for the people of Makerfield. They didn't request this. They voted in Josh Simons less than 2 years ago. They thought this business was all done and dusted. They've just got over the local elections. And now they've put right at the centre of British politics and asked to basically vote on a referendum on who they want their next Prime Minister to be. But at the moment, I think the betting man bets on Andy Burnham, unfortunately.
I'm not sure I would. I take your point. It's going to be closer than people think, but I don't think the people of Makerfield, as you're implying there, Paul, are going to like being, or already do they like being taken for granted? You know, being just treated like a pawn in Andy's political chess game. So that's going to be a problem for him as well. Paul, great to talk to you. Thank you so much for coming on. Have a fabulous weekend on this wonderful sunny time of year. Now, we're going to talk about the weather next. By the way, you know, it's a beautiful day here in London, and I believe it is around the country. It's going to be what they call a heat wave. It's going to be a fabulous bank holiday weekend. I mean, that's unusual for a kick-off, isn't it? But naturally, the BBC is telling us we'll all be dead by Tuesday because it's so hot. Don't go out, draw the curtains. Oh my God, there's just so many incidents and all that. It's a sunny day. Enjoy it, for God's sake. But we will talk about the weather with meteorologist Joe Wheeler next. Stay tuned.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Right, it's competition time. The FIFA World Cup 2026 is almost here, as you know, and thanks to Adidas, the tournament's official match ball supplier, our friends at TalkSport are giving you the chance to be there. Adidas is sending you and a friend to Dallas to see England versus Croatia live on June the 17th with return flights, accommodation, spending money, tickets, and your very own Adidas official match ball Trionda. Be at England's first game in the FIFA World Cup at one of the world's best stadiums. Ready to get that winning feeling? Here's how to enter.
Get ready for that winning feeling. For your chance to win, head to talksportwin.com or text TALK to 83338. Texts and online entries cost £2.50 plus your standard network rate. Or call 0343 418 7260. Lines close 1st of June 2026 at 4 p.m. That's when you'll need to answer your phone if it rings. 18 plus UK residents only. This is a network promotion. See full terms and conditions at talksport.com/win. So for your chance to win, text TALK to 83338 now. Full T's and C's at win.talk.tv.
Good luck if you enter that excellent competition. Here is a plug for my show, What Just Happened. What Just Happened? That is on tonight at 9 p.m. right here on Talk. That will follow. Charlie Rowley is standing in for Peter Cardwell tonight, so he'll be with you from 7 until 9. Then it's What Just Happened, live here on Talk. And also, as of 10 a.m. tomorrow, the show is available on YouTube anytime you like. So forever. So tonight 9 p.m. and then after 10 a.m. tomorrow morning on YouTube anytime you like. Here's a clip.
Meghan Markle is a well-known liar. Anyone who believes she's not writing a book is an idiot or moron. Take your choice, as it's understood by some parties. It's already written, being added to date. The old tart, she's such a liar.
Well, I think she will write that book. I don't think she's writing it at the moment, but it is, as I said last week, it's her banker, isn't it? Yeah. You know, if all else fails, she can write that book and make... I think Harry made about $27 million from Spare. She'll make 10 times that from her book. That's me. That's Ash Gould talking, Flash Ash Gould, and of course the brilliant Samara Gill on that show as well. By the way, if you're watching it tonight or you're listening on the radio, and you're not going to watch other pictures, you don't want to look at my ugly mug, very understandable. It's very radio friendly, so don't worry about that. Right, shall we carry on? Let's go over to meteorologist Joe Wheeler to talk about this amazing weather. Welcome, Joe.
Hello. It is. It's gorgeous, isn't it?
It really, really is. Absolutely steaming in London. Fabulous day, and I gather it is around the country. Well, first of all, Joe, why? Why suddenly has summer finally arrived?
Well, yes, it seems bizarre, doesn't it? It was only a week or so ago that we were forecasting rain and hail, northerly winds, temperatures below average, overnight frosts even, and then suddenly, just like that, it all changed. Well, of course, you know, we are an island and very subject to minor shifts in the weather, which cause major changes. Northerly wind, it's always going to be cold. If it's coming from the west, it's cool and damp. If it's coming from the south, get your barbecues out. Coming from the east, well, it's either going to be glorious weather or existential despair. It really depends on the season. But currently, we've got this southerly flow, which you might think is bringing warm air up from Europe. It's not. What's actually happened is this air has come from Canada. Now, gifts from Canada are usually pretty chilly, but not on this occasion because this air has taken its good old time coming over the Atlantic. And as it's come across, it's been compressed, squashed, sinking, and sinking air warms up. And that's why we've got these incredible temperatures at the moment. Add to that, of course, that the sun in May is really quite strong. And that's why we're seeing these temperatures, which are likely to top 30 degrees Celsius, certainly in some places, not all.
And that's over 90 degrees in old money, isn't it, for our older members of the audience? And how long will this heat wave go on, Joe?
Well, they say for an English summer, it's 3 fine days and a thunderstorm. I have to say, there is a chance.
That's true, apart from the 3-day bit. It's usually about 1 day, isn't it? But go on.
Well, yeah. First and foremost, we're likely to see some thunderstorms working their way south tonight, likely to affect parts of Lincolnshire, East Anglia, the southeast around the dawn. But once that's gone, then the fine weather comes back. And this high pressure looks like staying with us right through until the beginning of June. Obviously, the further ahead the forecast gets, the less reliable. But all indicators are that we're going to stay fine. But the interesting thing in that is because right at the moment, yes, England and Wales have got loads of sunshine. But for Scotland and Northern Ireland, it's really quite a cloudy picture with some rain around. Now, as this high pressure shifts its way northwards, it's going to get rid of that cloud and rain across Scotland and Northern Ireland, so they get some sunshine and some warmth as well. But as that happens, it also takes the focus of the heat further west in the country, and we pick up an onshore flow, so North Sea coasts at that point become a little cooler.
Let's talk about the potential health scares involved in this kind of heat wave. Now, I don't want to undermine the importance of that. People, need to be careful, heat stroke and all that. But the BBC, if you go onto the BBC's website, you'd think we're all going to be dead by Monday. It's like, don't go out, draw the curtains, all the health services on red alert. I mean, why are they so doom-mongery about nice weather?
Do you know something? I don't know. If it makes you feel any better, the same about Christmas trees. At Christmas time, it's like beware the dust in your Christmas tree that's been in the loft. There are certain things you do need to be aware of course. The sun is strong at this time of year. It's as strong as it is in late August. That might come as a surprise to you. So obviously UV levels are going to be very high, where we've got not a cloud in the sky, and the sun is beating down. Second point to make is the fact that the various bodies of water that surround us, or lakes, or even rivers and canals, they haven't had time to warm up yet. They're still 2-3 weeks ago with the northerly flow and the temperatures below average. So they haven't had a chance to warm up. So anybody going around in this kind of heat, over 30 degrees, who suddenly goes, gosh, I've got a great idea, let's cool off in the water, you do want to be very careful because you can get cold water shock. I think it's fair to warn about that. But it's quite interesting. The UK SHA, I think I've got that right, they usually work from the 1st of June to the 30th of September, running concurrently with the hurricane season in the States, I notice. And because we're not used to these kind of temperatures at the end of May, they've had to come in early. They must be really hacked off.
Indeed. I mean, what do we... You're right. People have been warned, be careful of just plunging yourself into cold water because you can get a shock there. But I do find it kind of strange, don't go swimming. Look at the weather, it's 30 degrees. Don't go swimming. Don't tell me not to go swimming, but you're right, Joe, you've got to be careful. And since we're on this track now, what else should people be cautious about in these conditions?
The traffic.
No, I meant in terms of the actual weather, but that is a really good point. I mean, I even in London, I mean, the whole place is absolutely packed with people, I think, getting the hell out for this bank holiday weekend. So the traffic will be terrible. But the sun, you implied, you alluded to earlier, these will be very strong UV rays.
Yes, they will. So there's the risk of sunburn. I mean, there are all sorts of horror articles about at the moment, rare skin cancers on the rise. I saw another article about the fact that, this summer we're all going to need air conditioning units. That'd be nice, but probably not going to happen. There's an awful lot written that people are going to click on, and that's mostly why they write it. I think the things to be very aware of in this kind of weather is not to start a journey. If you believe it's only going to take the amount of time it takes to get there, if you see what I mean. Prepare for being stuck in the car for a long time, because if you don't have water with you, if you start to dehydrate, You know, that could be pretty unpleasant.
Yeah.
But it's Friday. People will have started travelling already, I would imagine, or they'll be in the car over the weekend. If you're thinking about day tripping, I think you're mad, but you know, enjoy it. But like I say, prepare for those journeys. Prepare for the fact you're going to have to sit in the car, and particularly now there are so many electric cars on the road, and they've only got, you know, limited mileage. If you're heading out towards the coast, and you've got to switch the aircon off because otherwise you won't get there.
Yeah. Well, listen, Joe, you enjoy the weather, and thank you very much for that weather report. Always good to talk to you. That's Jo Wheeler. She's a meteorologist with the Square Raindrop Organisation. Next up, we're going to take your calls, 0344499 1000. I'll read a few of your messages. I'm not sure if we've got any WhatsApp voice notes, but if we have, I promise I'll play them out. All of that still to come, still 10 minutes or so before Charlie Rowley takes over the helm of the Good Ship Talk. So stay exactly where you are. Crisis.
Chris O'Dowd! When you get the offer to be the voice of a sheep...
Yes, you can only dream, really.
Kelly Riley and Cole Hauser! Well, how much of Rip does your husband in real life have about him?
I mean, yeah. I mean, he's mad.
He's Kirsty and Phil!
Can we talk about one other thing?
We can talk about loads of things. It's an interview.
Wake up, it's a beautiful morning.
I've got some breaking news here. The Crowborough Army Training Camp could hold male asylum seekers all the way until 2030. Good. After the Home Office claimed it would only be for 12 months. Not much ambition involved in that, is there, in terms of solving the migrant crisis?
Absolutely, and the way that the Labour government gaslit the public when the migrants were first moved in there, saying, you know, you guys are absolutely being...
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Going to the phones in just a second. Charlie Rowley will be in a few minutes. But here's a text we should take seriously because it's from Pauline in Salford, obviously at the heart of the Greater Manchester area where Makerfield is. This is what Pauline says. Burnham does not have a cat in hell's chance of winning. He's taking the Makerfield electorate as mugs. They can see straight through him. Sarah's talking about that judge letting off those three little rapists. She says, hi, Kev, I think the jury should be asked to judge sentences. If we can be trusted to judge the case, we should be trusted to make sure an appropriate sentence is given. That's not a bad idea. If these judges are going to be so idiotically lenient because they're woke, probably a Guardian reading types, then perhaps the people should take over sentencing, because if they're going to hand out sentences like that judge did, you know, to hell with them. Andy from Liverpool says... I don't know what that means. Margaret says, Bridget Phillipson never wanted to bring this law in. Who the hell does she think she is, bringing in her own stupid rules? We see you, Bridget. We are not fools, not the fools you take us for. That's Margaret. Right, let's go to the phones. Let's talk to Mark in Lincolnshire. Hello, Mark. Mark, are you there?
Hello, Kev, mate.
Hello, mate.
Hello,
Yeah. You think Robert Kenyon, the Reform candidate, could be in trouble?
I think he could be. Yes. I mean, we'll see what we see at the end of the day, Kev. But yeah, I think Reform are in for a bit of a nasty surprise.
Why do you think that, Mark?
I think from all the feelers that are coming back from Makerfield, from a Restore Britain perspective, their numbers are looking pretty good.
Yeah.
From what.
So Rupert Lowe's going to go up there and screw it for Reform UK. So would Labour win? Yeah.
Yeah, and make a point. Make a really big point.
Great.
Reform.
Good. It's really good that he's made a point, right? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Because at the end of the day, they're not the only option on the right.
Well, they're the only. I mean, it's basically Tories or Reform UK. You can go on about Restore till the cows come home, and I've got a lot of time for Rupert Lowe. Don't get me wrong, but they're never going to be a serious political contender, are they, in terms of governing this country? Reform UK could be, certainly look poised to be that. And Rupert Lowe, an outrider, is just going to go out there and screw that up.
No, not at all. What he's going to do is go up there and show the people that there is an alternative, that you don't have to put up for the crack between the uni party backside, basically.
But what he's going to achieve, though, what he's going to achieve is the uni party winning that constituency, that by-election. That's what he'll achieve.
The reality is, Kev, even if you took Restore Britain out of the equation, Reform would be pushing winning that seat anyway. I think
it's closer than people think. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
I think it's very close. It's always going to be a very close seat anyway. So my argument is, and always has been, and it's the hill I'll go on, but it's the point that nobody owns anybody's vote. No party owns any person's vote. It's a democratic process. At the end of the day.
No, I totally agree with that. But do you think Rupert Lowe wants Reform UK to lose?
No, I don't necessarily think that he wants them to lose. What I think he sees is the same as I suspect quite a lot of other people see, which is why huge waves of people are moving over to Restore and have done since it came along 3 months ago. That's why they've got 130,000 members in 3 months. Well over that. They've got over 300 branches now across the country, Kev.
Well, they're too young, aren't they, to be an organised political force.
I think the reality is you make a good point, Kev. Of course you do. However, what would always come back with on that is that the growth of Restore has been at a rate of about 4 times that of Reform. Yeah, in every metric that you look at, that's the reality. When they stood, yes, it was only 10 seats in Great Yarmouth, but when they stood those 10 seats, they didn't just beat Reform; they doubled Reform's vote.
Yeah, but that's Rupert Lowe's home territory, isn't it? That's why. I think he's a good. By the way, I think he's a great local MP. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And he's become very popular there, and therefore the council, all the council seats went to Restore. But elsewhere in the country, they're not exactly a serious political force, are they?
But this is what this is going to find out, isn't it, Kev, at the end of the day? Because we will actually see what we see. Now, I always said, I spoke to your colleague Peter a week or so back about this. And as I said to him, I'll say the same thing to you. I'm under no illusions that Restore Britain are going to win this seat.
No, they won't win it. But they can screw it for Reform, can't they?
What my point is, Kev, if you remember back to Denton Gorton.
Yeah.
And if you remember Advance UK, I don't want that happening. Now, if at the end of the day it means that Reform don't win that seat because Restore Britain are there, Well, I'm sorry, but that's just democracy.
Yeah, no, it is democracy. It's just that people who don't necessarily want Labour might.
One thing, Kev.
Yeah, go on.
One thing. This whole argument about splitting the vote, right? There was tons of seats in the 2024 election that would have gone Conservative had people not voted Reform.
Yeah, the splitting the right is going to be the issue, a big issue of politics going forward. Listen, Mark, good to talk to you, mate. I've got to move on because the show's nearly over, but give me a call next week. It's always good to talk to you. Thank you very much, Mark, in Lincolnshire. Let's quickly talk to Ian in London. Hello, Ian.
Hi. That made me laugh and chuckle to a bit. I just don't see why they just don't say they just want to make sure Burnham doesn't win and just go for one party. End of story.
Yeah, but I'm afraid that Rupert Lowe and Restore don't want Reform UK to win.
No, but anyway, my point is that I phoned up initially. You got Starmer, Phillipson, all of these MPs that are like in the cabinet and everything. One of the first things they did when they got into power, we got our tickets like Starmer did at Arsenal, got to be in a director's box because it's security and everything else. Here proves they don't give a damn about women.
You're so right, Ian. It's another example that tends to indicate that Labour don't really care about women's welfare. I mean, their attitude to the rape gang scandal has been scandalous in itself. Keir Starmer, is clear, promoted a paedophile sex trafficker's best friend to the position of ambassador to the United States. Everything about Labour does not indicate an overwhelming concern for the welfare of women and children. I agree with you. Ian, I've got to go. The show's nearly over. Good call. Thank you very much. Call me next week. Ian in London. Charlie Rowley is in the studio. What have you got lined up, Charlie?
Well, good evening, Kevin. We've got excuse me.
That's not a good start.
If I can clear my voice. We've got a few stories coming up for you. We've got carrying on.